You're watching the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent and Austen Show.
Hey, welcome into a Tuesday here on the Brent and Austen Show. Brent Martineau here on the road again. I've been on the road quite. I'm like you, Austin, for the first couple months of the year. Like, you don't know where I'm going to be. And, in Ocala today, by the way. Made my way from West Palm Beach to Ocala. So here we are in Austen Lane, back in the comfortable Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network studios. And Blake Bills is with us today as the rotation continues. Hey, what happened to Hamby yesterday, Austin, to suspend him for today's show?
Oh, I mean, I just figured that you listened to Friday's show when you were gone and you finally got all caught up. That's what I was assuming. Or maybe you didn't.
Yeah. I didn't know if I don't know if we were too hard on him yesterday. We either blamed him for everything. Maybe he didn't like the junior part of the show after giving his tight end rankings. Maybe he's working on his new draft guide here for the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. It could be a multitude of things. Or he's just working in the news department. One of those deals as well. Yeah. Hey, we're going to check in with the NFL owners meetings. There's a lot going on. In fact, some of the things that were topical, like tush push, and I think I just saw something about the overtime rules might be changing in the regular season to be the same as the postseason. We could get that 1st and 10 thing. We'll go through some of those things. 18-game schedule. We'll hear from Shad Khan about the 18-game schedule. Now, I do want to preface it's not from today. It is actually from back in October when I asked him about it in London, but I can't imagine that much has changed from then till now. And then we'll see if those talks ramp up a little bit. Some of the things we didn't get to yesterday, we have more Liam Coen sound that we didn't get to. Obviously, one of the big stories was Travis Hunter and his comment about Travis Hunter and how he could fit potentially in Jacksonville, if he even gets to Jacksonville at number 5. Well, today's topic from Daniel Griffiths is about Travis Hunter. What makes this guy so special? So you can see all of that at actionsportsjacks.com. We're going to talk about it a little bit throughout the show today as well. We'll talk a little NCAA tournament. Who's the favorite now? You got all 4 number 1 seeds. I know what Vegas says, but who do we think? Austin, I'm going to start in a different place today, though, because the torpedo bats are the story of sports. I was driving this morning, got a phone call from Mom, and it wasn't even hello. It was, what do you think about these torpedo bats?
Yeah.
Now, listen, up there, it's the Yankees are hitting a lot of home runs and off to a good start. The Red Sox and Rafael Devers can't get a base hit. So I'm sure that's the story up in New England, where Mom's seeing that on the TV. But I dove into the torpedo bat thing a little bit more. Ellie De La Cruz used the bat yesterday for Cincinnati, and he went 4 for 5 or something like that. The physics and the mad scientist part of this, but I guess the wild thing about this whole torpedo bat deal is that it's really been in play for a couple of years, and that's what everybody's telling us, but we're the ones just finding out about it. We're the last ones to know, the fans and the media and everybody else, basically because of what the Yankees did on the opening weekend.
Yeah, like we talked about a little bit on yesterday. The Yankees just, they couldn't help themselves, whether it was their announced team or whatever the case, but they were being super braggadocious about it because they were having a lot of success against the Milwaukee Brewers. So, it's kind of a sensitive subject to me because the Brewers haven't won a game yet, and they may never win a game this season, and that's a shame. But if you look at the rules and everything, technically it is legal. They're not breaking any rules, right? But it's something that now is become at the forefront, and I guess shout out to the MLB because people are talking about the Major League Baseball on a news cycle, which is more about the NFL even nowadays. So at least they're getting some kind of publicity. May not be the best publicity, but we're talking about them. Obviously, we're opening our show with them. It's not technically breaking the rules. It's just the fact of if you see the numbers, and baseball is all about numbers and analytics and stats and everything. Obviously, the Yankees right now, who have been at the forefront of using this bat, have absolutely crushed the ball out of the park.
Very well done. Yes, they have. So, listen, I'm usually not a big change guy, especially in the sport of baseball, but it's my mom was kind of against it. It was funny when she was talking. I'm kind of defending it. And I find myself defending it, one, because it's legal. 2, because Major League Baseball and baseball fans itself want more scoring in general. 3, because hitting is really hard. Like if you watch some of the things, like I watch a lot of Twitter videos that people will put out there on like a guy that's throwing 98 and the ball's breaking like 20 inches and the ball's doing stuff like, holy cow, how do you hit that, right? So I'm just like, hitting's hard. Like we know that. So I don't think I mind this. The other thing is we have some age-old deals in our life, in sports and every facet of life, that it's like, well, we do it because everybody's always done it that way. Well, that doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. Maybe the bat shouldn't be shaped the way it is. So I just think, I think there's a lot of fascinating things going on behind this particular topic. And I don't necessarily jump to ban it because the Yankees are good. And I joked yesterday, but your Brewers staff also gave up 11 runs to the Kansas City Royals. So it's not like it was just the Yankees and their small ballpark and the torpedo bats. But I think the domino effect is wild because, I mean, what happens to all the other bats now? All the other wooden bats that players have ordered? Like, are we just going to have a big bonfire with those or what?
Yeah, I mean, you could probably like donate them or something, or maybe like you can like reuse them. I don't know. I mean, it's wood, you know, like, yeah, I'm sure it's a waste of trees, but you got to keep on planting some more. You know, that's just the way that the cycle works. I just think the problem with the torpedo bats is that this is taking place in a sport that is built off of history and tradition. And like we've always known the bat to be shaped a certain way. So when you change the look of the bat, when you change the style of said bat, you know, it's almost like it's almost hurting the tradition, which baseball is absolutely steeped in. So I think a lot of people have a problem with that because I think more of than any sport, you know, it's all about the old days and it's all about, you know, do things a certain way. You know, I mean, people feel a certain type of way when somebody wants to bat flip or wear their hat backwards or wear chains and everything, right? Or if you're the Yankees now, I guess you can have a beard, but back in the day, you can't even have a beard. So it's all about keeping the presentation how it's been for, it seems like the past 100 years. So when you bring a new prototype, when you bring something different and you're getting different results, people will have a problem with that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I just don't seem to have a problem yet with it. It'll be interesting to see where this thing goes throughout the year. Again, it's good for Major League Baseball. But here's what it flips me to, Austin, and it does flip to football. And it flips to basketball. It flips to something else. It's like, are we missing something else in 100 years of sports or 50 years of sports or something that's just so basic in sports that we get so accustomed to? And we're like, well, this could change in the next couple of years. We could see some mad scientists. We could see some innovation. We could see something that really jars you and be like, we should have been doing this the entire time because it makes sense. And I'll give you an example that, like I used to swim when I was a kid. And, you know, you wear the little tiny bathing suits and stuff because obviously you didn't want a lot of, or bathing caps some people would wear and you know, whatever, to cut the time. Well, you look up in the Olympics, like, I don't know, 5-10 years later, like after I was done swimming, or maybe it was even during that time, and you go turn on the Olympics and they've got like basically a full bodysuit on, you know? It wasn't a bathing suit anymore. Like it was a bodysuit. And so what that was technology in the swimsuit. We've had Ryan Murphy on, obviously a multi-medalist in the Olympics from Jacksonville, and we've asked him about these different things that Speedo are doing or whatever else. Like, they are always enhancing the uniform. I would suspect, you know, one of the big reasons that Jordans were big or basketball sneakers continue to evolve the way they do, or maybe it's spikes in football or spikes in baseball. So, I mean, I think we see, I guess we just don't see it so obvious right in front of our face. And I'm almost wondering now, okay, who's going to come up with some idea that the football should have no laces on it instead of laces, you know, or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see what's next in sports.
I mean, well, you know, in basketball, there is the airless basketball that they've invented like a couple years ago, which is like $2,000 if you want to buy one. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but like, I'm not sure if the NBA is going to use that. Like they've tested the airless basketball out, and if you haven't seen it, it's basically, I don't even know what it's made out of, but it's just got a bunch of holes in it. And it dribbles exactly like a basketball. It feels just like a basketball, except it's like astronomically more expensive. I mean, I'm not really sure like what the point would be of like introducing that in the NBA. You know, I'm not sure what the point would be of with the laces and everything. I mean, it's all about the rule set, right? And this is the thing with the torpedo bat where it fits in the rule set. I'm sure deep on page 200, 300 of the NFL rules or NBA rules, like they probably get super detailed about, what the basketball can and cannot be, or like what the football can and cannot be. So I don't know. Are we going to see something monumental like this in football or at the NBA? I have a hard time believing it. I think you see more of it in terms of player safety, obviously, with, like with the concussion helmets and things like that. I think more of the technology is focused on player safety in football than actually like how can we optimize a pass or like optimize it. I mean, you can say optimize a cleat. There's always technology there, but I think it's more player safety driven.
Man, that's a really good point. I think all those things that have changed are really player safety driven, even shoes, right? Even shoes and cleats and trying to protect around the ankle or whatever it might be. Comfort, of course, style too. But I think player safety goes into even whether it's a uniform or something else. That's a good point about that. You just mentioned one, and now I can't. The airless basketball, I don't know a lot about. That's an interesting one. I don't know if that never hit mainstream or I wasn't just paying attention because of the price of it, and it hasn't been adopted yet. We've seen like the 3-point line change, right? We've seen things like that. We've seen other rules in baseball. Like I do wonder at some point, do we get where the basketball rim is higher than 10 feet? We're so accustomed to 10 feet. And everybody can dunk that plays basketball, right? You can't play basketball if you don't dunk. And some of these guys are flying high above the backboard, it seems. Do we, adapt that to today's modern athlete? That would look really different, right? I think that would be something that would look really different if we change the height of the basketball.
Yeah, that would be crazy. I think, I've heard people talk about this before, so, this isn't my theory, but like if they lowered the hoop for like the WNBA and like you encourage more dunks and everything, like and don't get it twisted, like people are watching WNBA more than ever, right? So I think it's a fine product right now, and that's obviously with people like Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and company. But like I've heard many arguments sometimes saying like if you lower the girls hoop, and you incorporate more dunks, like would even more and more people tune in to watch.
That's a good call. Yeah. Again, that's another argument I haven't seen a lot of, but I like. That makes some sense to me, right? I think we're going to see. I think it used to feel like, okay, we're not going to see these crazy changes in sports, right? We're not going to do this, and I've often wondered even what the NFL will do in terms of gimmicky stuff. Well, look, they changed the extra point. Nobody really said you got to change the extra point. They did. They changed the kickoff rule. That looks different. That looks kind of goofy. Again, player health, safety, a play that matters. Those are the two things that are involved there. I just think we can't. When you see something like this, the bat looks so different, and it's by the rules, and it's working. I think it really opens your mind up and your imagination to be like, okay, what does sport look like down the road with all this science and everything behind it? We thought analytics was just the number crunching and trends and everything else. Well, this changed the shape of the bat. It really wild to be able to see that happen. Almost what feels like overnight, by the way. So fascinating story. I'm going to go. So I have one more prong to this conversation. One of the reasons I wanted to start it to get to the Jags. And again, I don't think this will be in your face, but I think one of the things that I like, what people ask me all the time, Austin, probably ask you the same thing. What do you think about the new Jags brats, right? Coen and Gladstone. I'm just my answer to this to them is, listen, we don't know. We've been through a lot of different renditions of the Jags. I have no idea if this one's going to work. I will tell you on Sundays, right? We'll see over a year. We'll see over a couple of years. But the thing that I do like about it is that we want to make a shirt that says intangibly rich, right? And we want to players over plays and game on and all this stuff. We have a little bit of different lingo going on. The other thing that I really think about these guys is they're very intelligent. And what I say when I say that is that doesn't mean you win football games. Being smart doesn't mean you win football games, or we would have had a bunch of Harvard guys being GMs all the time. But it does feel a little bit different. It feels like they're on the edge of something. They could really look at the game differently. Liam Coen talked about this yesterday with Gladstone. We'll probably hear from him about Gladstone in a little bit. But he said something like, "Hey, I've never seen the draft board set up the way Gladstone sets it up. I mean, it basically looks like a call sheet that I do for a Sunday." And just even that little thing was like, hey, they're doing things different, right? If Liam Coen hasn't seen it and that looks a little bit different to him, it would really look different to a lot of people in that building. So this whole like torpedo bat deal and this whole Jags thing, like it kind of got me on, are the Jags on the edge of something? Are they ahead of something with this group? Is Gladstone going to, we're going to look up in 3 to 5 years or whatever else, and it was him that did X, whatever that was. I don't know if you root for that. I'm not predicting it's going to happen. I just think there's curiosity with this group because you know they do things a little bit out of the norm, like not the 30 visits or potentially not going to the combine. And yeah, it wasn't him that started it. The Rams helped do it, but he helped start some of these things even in Los Angeles. So I find it fascinating that we could be talking about changes and things that look pretty big, Austin, right here in Jacksonville. And I don't think we've had that in the past.
Yeah, well, we haven't had that in the past. I agree with. Well, I mean, we kind of have. You've had Gene Smith, and obviously his outside the box was getting a bunch of small school guys and hopefully hitting on one of those small school guys. So, like, there has been, and obviously it didn't really work that well, but like there has been instances where you've had outside the box thinking. Now, when you talk about James Gladstone and what he's bringing to the table, yeah, he's bringing a little bit of that blueprint of what they had in LA. But this definitely feels a little more, this go around with this new regime, it definitely feels a little more analytical driven. It feels a little more calculated and not so much of the old school, just go off your gut feeling with football. Right now, time will tell if that's the right thing or the wrong thing. Because if you want to have a counter argument, when we had Coach Mike Mularkey on, he was very adamant about saying, you still have to rely on your football instincts and analytics. Like, and I don't want to speak for him, but he made it sound like he was one of the last of the dying breed in terms of trying to do things his way in a world that was now being taken over by analytics and numbers and things like that. And he made that abundantly clear. So what we're going to find out is with this new regime now, which it does seem to be a little more analytical driven, a little more high frequency IQ driven than we've seen before. We're about to find out if that's going to win the day over maybe going more of the gut, experience of NFL in terms of, putting in a computer and we'll find out. I'm not saying which one's right, which one's wrong. I think you can do both. I think you can make an argument and say in Philadelphia, and I don't know Howie Roseman's background. I don't know if he's played football. I don't know any of this stuff, but I do know that they thought outside the box because they almost treated it like it was a Madden roster, where it wasn't like, hey, the analytics say we probably shouldn't take 2 corners with the first 2 picks because we need one. Hey, the analytics say maybe we shouldn't, shore up so much in terms of the defensive line because, well, there's other positions to get up there. But they didn't. They kind of bucked the trend, and guess what? They won a Super Bowl because of it. So I think whether it's analytics based, whether it's old school, go on your gut based, to me, the outside the box thinking is what should eventually, get you a Super Bowl or at least get you above everybody else. And maybe with the way that Gladstone's approaching this, not having the meetings, not really going to the combine and sending other people to the combine, maybe the way that Liam Cohen's going to approach this now, a very more, IQ football, not necessarily the most gritty, but can relate to the players. Maybe this is the lifeblood that the Jaguars need now.
Awesome. I think those are really good examples, by the way. And I think, the fun part for me, I was thinking of this just in the last 2 days. We've been doing the show going all the way back to the radio side. And that I've said this for years. I was like, I think the combine is overrated. We would talk about these visits, right? Because we talk about every part of like the Jag cycle and everything else. And I'm like, I don't get, I never say that it's harmful. I don't think they're like the wrong thing to do. I just think they're so overrated. And I don't think it influences your board very much. And I think if it does, you're doing it the wrong way. And I think some of the motivation for the Rams or for maybe Gladstone and Coen now to get away from some of that stuff is to not take away from the 18 months of research they've done in the film room or watching games in person on these guys, and not be influenced in the final 2 months of that process by a face-to-face meeting or potentially 28 reps on a 225 at the combine. So I kind of think there's some logic in there. But I've said for a year, I don't get this time of year. I don't think it's as valuable as people say. I think it's just another box to check. And if you're sliding your board around because of some of this stuff, other than a medical at the combine, or maybe a character issue that pops up, I think you're probably doing it wrong. So I'm kind of fascinated with that now coming to Jacksonville, that way of thinking, because I think it's right, quite honestly. Sure. And I give the credit to the Rams for doing that. Now, I'm not telling you I'm right. I just think it's right. So we'll find out in their whole draft process if this benefits them or not. So, but while we're on Gladstone, I think, Rob, we have Liam Coen talking about James Gladstone yesterday at the NFL owners meetings when we were down in Palm Beach. So if we had that, let's hear from Liam Coen about the Jags GM.
It's so easy to talk to him. I mean, he breaks things down to such an elite level of simplicity for me because he's a lot smarter than I am. And so he's able to break down the draft, understand it as well as anybody I've heard have these conversations. We've got guys in buckets of where we're trying to look for him, and he's been able to map things out for me to be able to understand at a high level. I think you look at the buckets, right? We've really kind of started to put players in buckets, and it's each round has two. So we're able to have enough buckets there where it's not too much, but we do have enough on the board. Now, also merging, our players that were off their board in LA that maybe we have to have conversations about here. It's been so organized. The way he kind of has things is like a call sheet, like an offensive or defensive coach's call sheet, not your typical draft board, if you will. So it's easier for me to read and understand, which I think is really cool. He's a coach's kid, so he wants to do things that way, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? I mean, if you listen to that and you dissect that, right? I think there's one thing that's fascinating. We talked about communication yesterday with these guys, elite communicators. I think it's also interesting to hear, again, what I said about communication yesterday is, listen, I can say it one way, but you've got to be able to understand it. That's part of communication. That's part of my job, is to hopefully relay something. And sometimes you do a good job of that. Sometimes you don't. I mean, we're not all great at that. You try to be as good as you can. These guys are supposedly really good, and people consume in different ways, as we know. That's why we're on all these different platforms. But I think, like, inside that building, when there's this trickle-down domino effect, I think you really have that in spades. I mean, you really got to get that message simple. I think that's been an issue with the Jags building at times, right? Because you don't have this top-down, here's what we're doing, and this is the way we're doing it, and we're going to stick to that. We're going to be disciplined about our philosophy on X. So just listen to Coen talk about relaying things to players and coaches and getting everybody on the same page, making it the illusion of complexity we talked about yesterday. Listen to this kind of statement about Gladstone, that he makes it easy for us to understand. I think that's kind of fascinating. I think we're getting some illustrations already on some change. And when Coen, who's 39 years old and been around this stuff since he was 4 years old, saying, I've never seen it that way, I think that's a hint that this is being done a little bit different of a way. And then the end of the story, we'll see, is it the right way? Well, the wins and losses will showcase that at some point down the road.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, right? Like everyone's got their own method to the madness, and it's going to be great if you win football games, and if you don't, then people are going to call it out. Like that is the ultimate indicator, right? You can skin a cat how many ways, but like if you're not winning football games, it doesn't really matter. So, by the way, I never really understood that whole analogy, but I just said it. This is me just getting my older age. There's a million ways to skin a cat. I mean, it's really big into football all the time, I've heard. I just not sure why we're skinning cats. Sorry about that, Peter. But I do believe that, things have been done a certain way in the past, Brent, and this is why I think there's so much excitement and enthusiasm for Gladstone, for Coen, just because you've kind of had the status quo for the past couple of years, and there was a few glimmering spots, but in totality, nothing really to like, nothing really to celebrate. So I just feel like people are like, okay, this is a brand new lease on life. It's different. It sounds different. It feels different. It looks different. And I think that's where all the intrigue and the excitement comes from. And there should be that. But you still have to back it up as well.
Yeah, you got to back it up. And listen, most people don't like change. So I think internally, Austin, we don't know about this, but I think it's fascinating in the walls of that building to see how people will acclimate, right? Will people buy in? I'm a big believer in buy-in. I think why not? Like, start with buy-in. Don't start with negativity and criticism and everything else. At least start with buy-in, see how it goes. And, if it doesn't work, you figure it out, and maybe you move on if you don't like it, or they move on if it doesn't work. One of those things. But I wonder how that part will go, because it's a old stodgy industry at times. It really is. You got football people that have been around football for decades and decades. And so when you bring these new waves, this new line of thinking in, not everybody takes to it. Not everybody takes to it. You see that in your business wherever you work, most likely. We see that in sports right now. We're got us on it with the torpedo bats, and we see it in our business in spades, right? Even in this project that we're doing right now, we know where it's going. Maybe a little bit early on that side, but as I always tell people, I know my kids are driving and they're 20 years old and they don't get in the car and turn on the radio. That's just a fact, right?
Yeah.
And that's just the way it goes right now. That's just the new wave. So we all have this in our own different ways, and I think we're seeing it right now in the Jags organization, and it's something, quite frankly, we haven't seen in the past. It felt like the old same NFL for a long time, and quite frankly, it didn't seem to work. So I would think most Jags fans right now are embracing different. And I don't think it's too outside the box different either. I just think there are some subtle things that are different. A couple of comments in the chat just about the torpedo bat real quick. Does torpedo bat make more foul balls if not hit perfectly? I don't know. That's a good question. How can you bunt with a torpedo bat from the Bunt King, Brent? Yeah, that's a great question. Like, can you deaden that thing? I don't know. Well, we're not seeing a lot of that in the – it would be real – what a tell it would be, Austin, right? First and second, nobody out, like 8th or 9th inning, big game. We'll go to the postseason with this because that's when they actually start bunting again in the postseason.
Sure,
and the guy walks up there with like a regular bat instead of a torpedo bat.
Yeah,
and now you're like, oh, this guy's got to try to bunt.
Yeah. That's a good point. Scouting reports, going to have more to add now, I guess.
Yes, Daniel Kilkenny also adds, some people still think golf clubs should have hickory shafts. I don't think people think that way, but I think the golf world is a great example of the different technology, and almost to the point has technology gone too far. Tiger Woods and other people have talked about rolling the ball back, like the ball is too alive in golf, and you're just talking about the power game only. So, I mean, baseball kind of is doing that too, right? They don't care if you hit 220 and strike out 5 million times as long as you hit home runs and doubles right now. So there's really not that much of a difference, I think, in that way between golf and baseball. So we're seeing sports change, and we're seeing it especially right in front of us with the torpedo bat. Hey, more from the NFL owners' meetings. What about the tush push? What about some of these other competitive things on the table in these committees? And what more from Liam Coen and the Jags brass down in South Florida? Let's get to that when we come back. Brent and Austen Show here on a Tuesday edition on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. Thanks for hanging around with us. Don't forget to hang out with our pals from Jax Pals. Go to jaxpal.org to check out the latest, how you can get involved with after-school programs, how you can just make a simple donation to support kids. Maybe you have kids that you want to be involved with Jax Pal and all the different sporting events and programs that they run. All you have to do is go to jaxpal.org, the Jacksonville Police Athletic League, working in the community all over Northeast Florida, jaxpal.org. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models, or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you
and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnicht has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnicht. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnicht. GMC, we are professional grade.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team. Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season!
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the note for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Save $1,000 or more when you bundle a Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
2-1 coming off the weekend in Nashville. Now they come back against the Worcester Red Sox for the next week, and they will be at home, and they're going to debut this new-looking ballpark. They have a ribbon cutting actually going on, I think, right now down there to unveil the $30 million plus plans
not plans, renovation that now is complete. And there have been a lot of cool things. Just a couple of notes, and we did an hour show, by the way, on the Shrimp last week from the baseball grounds. You can find it at actionsportsshacks.com. But main gate is closer to the most parking. See, the bottom of your screen here is the closer side to Everbank Stadium and the Mech, where the Jags are. Well, around there is where you park, right, out in the outfield spots. So they've made it way easier to get in. The other thing they've done is now made this basically a 360-degree experience. So if you want to walk around the ballpark, which a lot of ballparks now do, you can walk all the way around that thing. So that's kind of cool. They have a new souvenir store right in that outfield, which is even bigger. They're going to have more food, new food, of course. The Power Alley seats we talked about in that right field, that was really a lot of the construction done. Those are only $15 tickets. And then they unveiled the shrimp boats that I think they have 15 fans can sit in these shrimp boats. I think there are 3 of them. And they are literally shrimp boats out there in center field. That's how you consume the game. So it's really fun, right? I mean, they have really embraced minor league baseball, the fun things about watching a game, the fan and family-friendly stuff, along with it's not just fireworks now in baseball. There's a lot more to it. And that shrimp boat area, if you're familiar with the baseball grounds, Bragan Field out there at the new ballpark, that's where the old the jungle gym area was for the kids. Like they had a play area for the kids to go out. So they've taken that out. But there's definitely some room to still kind of play out there and like throw a ball around from my understanding. I haven't actually been out there yet physically, but I think we'll do a show from there at some point, Austin. We'll go out on a Wednesday, maybe like a 12 or 1 o'clock game and go do a show from the shrimp boats or something.
I like it, man. So have we got word on the giraffes? The giraffes are gone, right? There is no more giraffes.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know about that. The giraffe.
In left field,
I haven't
right
seen
field,
the giraffe in a while. Yeah, that was out there in left field over there.
Well,
right?
when are we going to
Right
get answers? When are we going to get answers, Brent? Once again, don't care about the JFK stuff. Not gonna sift through all that stuff. I want to know what happened to the giraffes.
I have to ask the right questions. I'm not asking the right questions.
I'm not asking questions, man.
We will.
Should we send Ben on it, Brent? Is that what you're saying? Should we go to the bullpen?
That's not a bad idea.
Are these torpedo bats too much for you? Should we bring in the hefty righty and Ben Becker?
I should do that. Speaking of, I got to send you guys a picture. I'm going to send it to Rob. I took a picture of a guy yesterday at the NFL owners meetings, and I was like, this has to be Ben Becker's brother.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I haven't sent it to Ben yet. So I'll send you a picture, Rob. And I don't know how soon you can get that, but, don't worry. We got time. We got a couple hours. But don't let me forget about it because this dude, I was like, Weber, look at that. I did double take. I thought it was Becker with a little older. He's got some white hair. But there's no doubt they could be related, in my opinion. I want to see if you feel the same way.
Okay.
Hey, April Fool's Day today. Not a huge participant in April Fool's, but you brought up an interesting topic on April Fool's Day. When you bring up a topic like this, I'm like, okay, you got something in mind. And then my mind starts racing. I'm like, I wonder what he has in mind for this. And I wonder what I would have in mind for this. And so basically, I think the way you phrased it is like, what's the biggest joke of the last year in sports?
What's been the biggest joke this past year of sports? And if you say Reagan, I'm going to lose my mind. You leave her alone. She has nothing to do with this. Brent, I'm telling you right now.
You said it.
Okay. Wait, that's where you're going to go with actually Reagan?
My mind wasn't going there. No, my mind was not going there.
Okay, but good, yeah. Let's get off that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
I try to think about what I think a lot of people would say, like Bronny in the NBA.
Okay.
Is that a fair one?
That's a fair one. Yep.
Do you have anything else in mind when you came up with this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have no. I have mine. I'm just waiting to see yours. Is that where you're going?
Yeah.
You going Bronny?
Well, I don't know. I didn't have as much. Yeah, I think people would say, yeah, that's a little bit of a joke. I mean, the bouncing back from the various leagues, the getting the opportunity to call. Recently, though, it's less of a joke. He's been able to put up some points and everything else. So,
dude went off against the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, dude went off against the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, for me, I think the biggest joke of the year was when they traded away Luka Doncic. When you talk about a guy who is 25 years old, the face of the franchise, is the future of the NBA, and you somehow justified it in saying, well, does he really have the heart of the, for the game? Does he have the work ethic? He's 25 years old and he put your team on the back against the Timberwolves to go to the NBA Finals. What more do you want from him? So I think any fan in Dallas and any Mavericks fan around the world would say that was one of the worst trades in any sporting, in any sport, in sports history. And I think that was one of the biggest jokes, I feel like, of the year.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would say that. I don't think they found a true justification for it. There's been a lot of domino effects from that, from raising ticket prices soon after. Did you see the most recent Mark Cuban back and forth with former player? Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I mean, you opened this up to the last year. I'm trying to think of the last calendar year. I'm sure there's a lot of things that have gone on. You mentioned it, the Olympics to Luka. I mentioned Bronny. It's interesting that two things we brought up are the NBA, because we don't really sit here and talk about the NBA that much. Is there anything NFL related that was kind of a joke?
Daniel Jones. Kidding, Brent. Kidding. I got to keep on throwing it in there while I can, man, because who knows? Maybe he's going to go to Indianapolis now and take the league by storm. So I got to get those Daniel jokes in while I can, Brent.
Yeah, you do. Daniel Jones even added to Minnesota. I don't really feel like there was something outrageous in the NFL like this year. I mean Tyreek Hill had a dozen kids over the last calendar year, but
sure. I mean, I think the biggest, and this is probably 2 years ago now or whatever, but I think Deshaun Watson and the amount of money that you decided to pay him and that contract, I think that was kind of a joke. I think Kirk Cousins. Sorry, Hamby, if you're listening and then the playback or Hamby's dad's listening, sir, go and earmuff it for your son. I think Kirk Cousins and making all that money and the expectations were that. I think that was kind of a joke this year for the NFL.
Yeah, I think the Deshaun Watson one is very relevant right now too, especially based off what Haslam said yesterday. The Browns owner said, "Hey, we swung and missed, right? So it's over. It's over." That was pretty wild, wasn't it, Austin, to hear an owner not only admit that, but they're still paying him and he's still on their team, and he's admitting that and saying that. That was definitely a little frustration. Okay, I see you partying down in wherever you're partying on vacation while we're still playing and playing out the stretch of the season, but you're a failure. And you almost wonder, will Watson be untouchable the next go-around whenever he gets free to go to his next team, whenever he gets from out under this contract that nobody would trade for? Does he become an untouchable player for the rest of the league?
Yeah, I almost think he does now, right? Because unless he's going to agree to take the minimum, and even then it'll be in some sort of backup capacity because, and I'm not sure what even happened with the allegations and everything like that. I'm not sure if those are still lingering, but yeah, it would be in a backup capacity. If you're talking about a backup capacity, why would you want those distractions on your team then? So I think we may have seen the last of Deshaun Watson.
Has there been a bigger fall from grace recently? And I'm sure the answer is yes. But then Deshaun Watson. I think people already forget, Austin, that this guy, before all these allegations, before the contract stuff that he started with in Houston, because I think it was contract, hey, I might sit out, and then it was the massage stuff and everything else. I think that was the order of it. I think people forget, this guy was on the verge of being an MVP candidate. He was a really good football player. He had some really nice seasons. There's a reason why Cleveland tried to take a gamble on it, even though it didn't work. But, he was playing good football. And, again, I don't want to call him MVP football, but I think he was, on the cusp of having the conversation, is he going to fall into that category of MVP? Is he going to dominate the AFC South? Or at least when we were talking about it, would it be Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson, two former Clemson guys for years to come? in the AFC South. That seems like a lifetime ago. This guy is still a very young guy, yet the fall from grace is unbelievable if you think about it. From sitting out to the controversy off the field, to the lack of good play on the field, to the embarrassing contract Cleveland, to the embarrassment of an owner coming out and saying we swung and missed. And now at his age, even though he could play for a long time to come, people probably not willing to touch him and play. I mean, he is. I just don't think anybody will take a chance on Deshaun Watson after whenever this ends.
Yeah, and I agree. And when it comes to the football, it's what have you done for me lately? And yep, Deshaun Watson had a magical run when he was in Houston. Looked like he was going to be the guy going forward for years and years to come. And if you're a Jaguars fan, you were probably a little nervous about it. Well, then what happens? All the allegations come out. They get rid of him. He goes to Cleveland, and all of a sudden, here comes the emergence of C.J. Stroud. Not saying that he's earned himself in terms of the realm of what Deshaun Watson was able to do in Houston, but I think with the emergence of C.J. Stroud, we almost forgot about how good Deshaun Watson was, because now we got this rookie out of nowhere who is the rookie of the year and led his team on a little bit of a playoff run, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, is he like the next big thing now? Deshaun, we don't remember you anymore, and that's the way that it goes. It's almost like a 24-hour news cycle where if you got two great quarterbacks, man, it is what it is. So I think we tend to forget what Deshaun Watson was able to accomplish in a Houston Texans jersey, but he's a product of being replaced by a guy who still has a lot of hype and still has a lot of intrigue.
Yeah, it's the other. I'll tell you one more thing about Deshaun Watson that's, I guess, in my mind, kind of fascinating. This was a guy that drove with a rib injury from Houston to Jacksonville and won a game. So, like, from a teammate standpoint and everything else, you'd say really good. His leadership quality coming out of college was really his, highest trait, probably. The reason why people talked about him in the vein that they did was his leadership ability. And he was the magneticism to him and all the things that to maybe be a CEO. That's the way they were talking. If you told somebody now that didn't know that back then, yeah, right. No, that's the way people talked about him coming out of Clemson. That was the book on Deshaun Watson. Then you go even further back and you have the cool story, the great story of Warwick Dunn and what he does to build homes. And he built a home, actually, that Deshaun Watson and his family lived in. Remember that cool story from, national championship time and the Clemson days. So that's why, in my mind, you have all these different layers of what was evolving as a great American sports story, if you will, and has just crumbled in front of everybody over the last handful of years. It's been a heck of a fall from grace, and there are many athletes that do it, but this has got to be on the list of some top athletes that have fallen from grace. And some have been able to rebound. I think of Tiger Woods a little bit, his rebounds that he's had. I'm not sure Deshaun Watson is fully rebounding. I'm not sure he's going to get the chance to from an athletic standpoint. I always said, Cleveland might be mad at the whole idea of the contract and the trade and everything, but if he wins them football games, there will be a lot of people that he will win over as a Browns fans. Well, that never materialized, and I'm not sure he's going to get another chance, quite frankly, to do that. So pretty wild. Go ahead.
So some other things I was thinking about in terms of, biggest jokes. I think the way that Dan Hurley has gone from a beloved coach who turned down the Lakers gig to stay on the East Coast in the cold of University of Connecticut and now has become arguably the biggest villain in all of college basketball. I don't know if you want to put that in the joke category, but I think of how he's acted, how he's handled himself this past season, it at least warrants consideration.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Again, various levels of joking, I guess. But yeah, I think that would definitely be in the conversation of making the wrong decision. And then another one that I'm not sure this is called the fall from grace, but I do think his persona and the perception of him has certainly changed across the country. This guy was being celebrated last year for what he built at UConn, and now all of a sudden it's really flipped. He should have gone. Now the question is, how would it have been in L.A.? So he might have ended up looking like this, or looking like a failure, or looking like whatever you want to call it, if he had gone to L.A. and it didn't work out too, because. Yep. Crazy enough, Austin, the J.J. Redick thing, which could have been a joke, has actually turned out pretty good for the Lakers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, without a doubt. I mean, it's crazy how, because the whole Redick thing, it stemmed from a podcast that he did with LeBron James, and Austin had a good chemistry, and it's like, okay, let me become the head coach of the Lakers. And I think everyone kind of saw through it. It's like, yeah, maybe he's got a good mind, but like, is he suited to coach the Lakers, right? Like, does he actually have the qualifications to do that? Just coming from ESPN and having like guest spots sometimes, like, does that make you a great NBA coach? Well, probably not. But I think, Redick has definitely backed it up this year. And I think, obviously getting Luka Doncic helped out a lot as well. I think a few other things that come to my mind in terms of, you want to talk about jokes a little bit. I think Darren Waller and his whole career trajectory, going from, one of the most known tight ends in the league to, experiencing some heartbreak of some sort and then deciding that he's a rapper. That was wild. And also, and once again, Hamby, go ahead and earmuff it for me, but I went on a giant rant, Brent, when you were gone after another one of the Georgia Bulldog players got arrested. But I think now the track record and the laundry list that is the Georgia Bulldogs and how many of their guys have been arrested, I think that's a joke. And I'm not saying it's a joke like it's funny. I just think it's a joke how you keep continuing to just allow it with no ramifications or no one being held accountable in that coaching office.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good one too, by the way. And that's a serious one. I feel like that has. I know it's gotten some scrutiny. I don't see the changes. To your point, like who's stepping in and changing something? How do you change that? Someone find a way to stop the cycle of everything going on in Georgia right now. And I'll give you something else, man. That thing is so unusual because you don't hear college players getting in trouble like you did 5, 10, 15 years ago. You just don't. There's too much money on the line. I think the kids are more mature about it. I think they understand it more. Maybe you're still covering some of these up. That's certainly a possibility. And I'm not telling you everybody's squeaky clean and nobody gets in trouble, but you don't hear it as serial as this one has been. I mean, this is just unbelievable over the last 3-4 years. So it's really wild that Georgia can't figure it out. And it is kind of a joke, and not in a good way at all. Although a lot of these jokes, I'm not sure are in a good way so far. Not too many of them are that funny, unless you're unless they're not your team. That is for sure. Hey, speaking of maybe a little bit funny, here's the Ben Becker lookalike. I think Rob has. This is what I took a picture. I don't know who this guy is.
Oh,
what do you think, Austin?
Yeah, I can see. I mean, obviously, it's the hair, right? But that is very comparable for sure. That's wild, bro. You should have talked to him. Ask him if he knew. You should have talked to the dude.
Yeah, I looked.
See where he's from.
I looked across the room and I was like, "What? Does he have a brother?" I haven't even talked to Ben yet about it, so I'll have to ask him. But anyway, that was not Ben Becker.
That's very comparable, though, man. That's crazy.
Hey, we got more from the owners' meetings, including some things that are happening, like the tush push got tabled. So that means they're going to.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I think there were 16 teams that I saw that. Let me just double check, get my numbers right. I've just seen it in passing as we're kind of talking away here. But the proposal that would ban the tush push, this is according to Jonathan Jones, has been tabled. According to him, NFL team owners, medical professionals, and coaches will continue the conversation with a potential for a new vote at the May League meetings. By the way, those are in Minneapolis. 16 teams oppose the rule to ban the tush push. So that's half. There will be much more conversation with many teams in favor of having the NFL's competition committee continue to study the play. So it's like a 50-50 deal. You need 75%, Austin. The tush push is here to stay. I can't remember where you fall in the tush push, but like, I'm not a big proponent of banning this play. I think figure out a way to stop it. Where do you come in on it?
Yeah, I agree as well. Like, I think was it Matt LaFleur was saying that it's a rugby play more than a football play or something like that. Like, listen, one of the worst defenses in the NFL last year had no problem stopping it with Ryan Nielsen, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, so like we've seen that you can stop it. There are ways to. And yes, have the Eagles mastered how to do it? Absolutely. Is it their calling card? Absolutely. But if it's so dominant and it's so great, then why don't other teams try to take their mold? Because we're in a copycat league. All of a sudden, the Miami Dolphins did the Wildcat 12 years ago, and everybody was doing the Wildcat, right? So if it's really that dominant of a play, then copy them and then do it yourself. It's the NFL, is it not? Don't just go to a quarterback sneak anymore. Bring out the tush push for your team. And if you can't do it, well, then maybe that's on you and your coaching. And you can stop it because, once again, we've seen it before. So I have zero issues with the tush push. It's a football play. I like it, honestly, because I think it's more about grit and mentality and, get ready for this one, stick-to-itiveness than anything. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think it's a boring play somewhat because they've made it boring. They've really done a great job. But there are a lot of plays that in the NFL that I think are really hard to defend. I don't know how you defend them if you call the right play. Now, this one is just a line up and go at it, so it's so in your face. But yeah, I don't have a problem with it either. I think other teams can do it, or you can build for it. You can get a tougher offensive line. You get a bigger quarterback if you really want it. I mean, the advantage is big right now for Philly because they're so good at it. And they obviously, it's like first down is really 9 yards away instead of 10 yards away as long as they've got another down. But I will say this. I think the Jags showed this, but other teams started to figure it out a little bit more. And maybe that's a little bit of Jason Kelce not being there, because I think a lot of that depends on that center and the leverage and being really good at it. But I don't think Philly was as good last year at it as they've been. We'll see if that continues or if the league is catching up, or until they catch up. Have at it, Philadelphia. That thing has been tabled till at least May. Now, it still could go by the wayside in time for this season, but I would say with 16-16, when you need 75, I highly doubt that's getting enough votes to be banned by the NFL. I also think it's funny that we just say tush push like it's a normal phrase now. Of all the things we chuckle about, like 3 years ago, if somebody said tush push, we'd be laughing every time we said it. It's just a normal part of the vocabulary now in the NFL.
Yeah, I just think of football is such a physical and violent game, despite how much you try to change the rules. It's still, man, it's a violent game out there. And the fact that we use the term tush like a great grandma talking to her 5-year-old great grandson, watch your tush, what are we doing? It should be like the ass dash or something. I don't know. Come up with something a little more masculine, I feel like. But tush push it is. I've Brent, in my 37 years of life, unless it's talking about the play that the Eagles run, I have never used the word tush in my entire life, because I don't wear Coke bottle glasses. I'm not a grandma. I don't have, caramel candies in my pocket that I give out to little kids. I'm a man, dude. I don't say tush. Sorry.
We don't care if they run the play. We would just like it changed from tush push to ass push. Ass dash.
Yeah. Ass the ass dash. I like that. Let's go and copyright that, Brent. Let's go ahead and bring that proposal on behalf of the Brent and Austin show. Let's go ahead and bring that proposal in front of the Eagles. Be like, hey, listen, yeah, you guys are winning Super Bowls. Yeah, you guys are a very physical team, but they're making fun of you out there. Okay, when we use the word tush, let's try the ass dash instead. Thank you.
You're really correct though. I think of my grandmother and my mom, who say tush. I don't think I've ever heard anybody else say it until this.
Dude, there's two words, and I feel like I could say this too as well. We're gonna try it.
Tinkle.
Probably not. Yeah, I was gonna say it. Tinkle. Yeah, tush and tinkle are two things that I swear if I ever say it, someone's got to hold me accountable, because I just have to get out of society, man. I've never once used tinkle. Even when I was 4 years old, my grandma said it to me. I'm like, what do you just say something else? That's weird. So, yeah, man. I'm glad we're on the same page there, Brent.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of this, like, because I was thinking the whole time too. I'm like, how am I going to get Tinkle into this conversation along with Tush? Because my mom,
don't worry.
I'll get it in for you. Favorite, man.
Yeah, I remember.
Like, dude, by the way, you.
Go ahead. Sorry.
You and I are not always on the same wavelength. Like, we're not always thinking the same thing, which is often good. But the fact that we were thinking the same on this one.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I remember. Listen, man, and this is not a lie. I remember being in Miss Rush's second grade class, saying I have to go to the bathroom, and Miss Rush went, "Okay, well, after," because we were doing like this quiz thing, and she told me like, "Okay, after you're done, then you can go take a tinkle," and I just like. She said it, and like the class kind of looked up, and I'm like, I had secondhand embarrassment for her, because like when you said that word. Congratulations. Now you've lost all control of the class for like the next 4 or 5 months of school. Like, that's on you. Crazy, man.
We should tell Philly that if you're going to use tush push, you should now call them tinkle stations instead of restrooms inside the facility. That would be the way to go.
Oh, man.
I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up, by the way, because I wanted to see how to spell it.
Up? Okay, well, just be careful now, because the algorithm. Okay, with the algorithms, you know. Just saying.
I know. I'll probably get myself in trouble here, but tinkle can refer to a noun, a light ringing sound, or a verb to make a light ringing sound. Did not know that, and also has a child's informal meaning of to urinate. So there you go. Yeah, there is tinkle.
Yeah, man. Oh. I'm over it, man. I can't. I'm just now, like I'm just having flashbacks of my childhood now, man, and I want to get away from it.
Which isn't a bad thing. That's not a bad
it's thing. Great. It's just I just remember like even because like when you're 6, 7 years old, like you're naive to the world, right? Like you think like the funniest things are the coolest things and everything. But like I remember being that age and hearing the word tinkle, thinking like that. I can't co-sign on that. Like that just doesn't sound right to me. I don't know.
That is so true. I mean, I just love. I feel like there's some like weird connection between Rhode Island and Wisconsin. Like in terms of some of the lingo they get to use, right? Because we're the only two states that call a water fountain a bubbler.
Yep.
And I think there are a couple other ones. It's just a weird connection between, and I'm not telling you that nobody else used those words tush and tinkle as well in other states, but it does feel like.
Well, I hope they did, or else like this whole conversation, people are turning off now because they don't know what the hell we're talking about. So hopefully somebody out there can relate to us a little. Hey, Bleak Bills, you ever heard tush and tinkle? We good?
Of course.
Okay, yeah, we're all good, man. That's like a universal thing. I feel like good. All right. I feel a lot better about it.
He had probably never heard of a bubbler.
No, I was just thinking about that. I've never heard a waterfall called a bubbler.
Yeah.
Maybe a fountain.
Fountain, yep. Yeah. I think it's fountain, fall, or bubbler, depending on, where you grew up and everything.
I would think a bubbler would be
there. It
like
is.
Spring.
Say it again, Bleak Bills?
I think a bubbler would be more like a spring, right? Instead of a waterfall.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't there's not bubbles involved. So where bubbler came from, I'm going to be honest, I have no idea. And like looking back on it now, fountain does make a lot more sense. But you know me, man, I'm Wisconsin through and through. So bubbler it is.
Yeah, but like the old water stations that you push the button, right?
Yes.
Like and you lean over and take a sip from. Like that's what we're talking
3
about.
seconds.
And if you really, especially you got 3 seconds, and especially the ones that don't work very well, they literally bubble instead of like have like a big fountain out of there. So I can see where it came from.
Did you have the 3 second rule? We're just going down nostalgia now, but this warrants a question too. Did you have the 3 second rule back in the day?
Oh yeah.
Do you think you still have that? Because like, I remember coming from a sweaty day of playing football outside. And then you had like the lazy kids that were like, drawing with chalk, like on like the basketball courts. You mean to tell me that big, tall, lanky Austen Lane who just, lost, I don't know, like 5 pounds of water, gets a 3-second 1001, 1002, 1003, and that's it. But then Jenna, who was writing with her chalk on the playground in the shade, didn't do any kind of sweating, gets the same 3 seconds that I get. BS. So like, I really wonder, like, so I really wonder, like, is that still a thing? Like the 3 seconds? I thought that's my son that actually.
You remember the kids that used to put their entire mouth over the spout?
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah. Well,
yep.
That's what I was going to ask you guys. Kid. Is this even a thing? Is it even a thing anymore? Do they have them?
I haven't seen anybody use them since COVID.
No, I think my son's school still has them, so I have to ask him tonight. I have to do some research. Like, they still have water fountains.
I don't think people use them though.
Yeah, maybe just with like COVID and everything, maybe it's not like as used anymore. But I don't know, man. I was drinking from them. I was drinking from a hose.
The bottle refilling stations now.
Ah, yeah, that's true. Everyone's got their own water bottle now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody's got that, seems like. Hey, another rule change. Touchback on kickoffs now changed from 30 to 35. And it looked like this one wasn't going to change from everything I read this morning, but here we are. 30 to 35. So I guess they want to promote. I don't think we have a lot of thoughts on this one. I think they just want to promote more scoring, bump it up 5 more yards. They want to encourage kickoffs. The kickoff percentages, by the way, were up this year. In fact, I had a graphic on this. If I could find it quick enough, I'll tell you some of the stats that they had. They were up a lot in the playoffs, and they were up a lot in the regular season compared to like year over year. So they think the new kickoff works, but they also obviously want to promote it a little bit more. And so now you give an extra 5 yards. The crazy thing about it, Austin, is if you start at the 35, the way things are today's day and age in terms of the passing game and the explosive plays and also the kickers, you're literally 2 plays, it feels like, from field goal range, potentially.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is wild, right? And this obviously, I felt like what the NFL wanted, just because of scoring and everything. You want to see more points on the board. You want to put the defense, behind the 8 ball a little bit. So you always kind of saw like what the goal and what the purpose was, right? And it's a fantasy driven league now, Brent. It's a points driven league, and it makes sense.
All right, so here you go. I did find it. The kickoff had twice in past seasons. The kickoff had twice as many injuries and 4 times as many concussions as a run or pass play. That was in the past. With the dynamic kickoff, so the first year of it, the injury rate was brought in line with the play from scrimmage. So it didn't bump up anymore. So it went from 2 times to regular. Return rate of 33% the regular season. I still think they would like to get that higher. I think that's why they've gone to 35-yard line. A 57% increase, though, from 2023. That 33% was way up. Return rate of 45% in the playoffs. That was up 23%. So, again, you get the gist. It's a lot of numbers, but everything was up because of that, and now they're going to try to promote that even more. Just a couple other things about just some notes from the NFL owners' meetings that, since I have it in front of me. Concussions reached a historic low during the 2024 season, marking an important milestone in the league's work to reduce head injuries, Austin. And you brought up like that change of the bat versus the change of the helmet. Some people are going with that helmet, but obviously, wouldn't you say the acknowledgement of health and safety, the acknowledgement of CTE studies and everything else is working for the NFL in its favor if concussions are now at a historic low?
Without a doubt, and like I don't have the information in front of me, but I assume, over these past couple years, I think just the way that concussions are treated as well and like the protocols that go into them, I think that's benefited players. And maybe, once again, they're talking about, practices maybe changing up a little bit in terms of the physicality every once in a while, especially in training camp. Like, yeah, I think those numbers they're not by mistake, and they're not an anomaly. I think there's been a conscientious effort to, help player safety out. And at the forefront of that is concussions. So, yeah, whether it's the helmets, whether it's how we're treating, hits, how we're treating, like I said, just like if you get one, what you have to do to try to get back in the game. And obviously there's a third party now too on the sidelines where if you even it looks like you got one, you're supposed to go to the tent and everything, and they evaluate you. there's just a lot of things in place now that are helping NFL players, I think, have longer careers if they want it, simply because, there's more science and research backed by it.
I'll give you a couple other notes before we take a break and come back with Shock Your Mock. Viewership is, I don't know if I'd have a job in TV without the NFL. Like, that's really where viewership is. NFL games ranked as 90 of the top 100 telecasts during the 2024 NFL season. I mean, it's absurd, right? How big it is. The NFL had an average audience of 17.5 million viewers a game, second highest mark over the past decade. And we see this at CBS and Fox. It's not just the Jags games. The Jags games do really well, and even when they're not performing great, they still do well. If they perform great, they do really well. But you can have a 4 o'clock game on a Sunday afternoon, and the NFL number is still massive. It can be the 49ers and the Chiefs, or it can be, it doesn't matter, the Rams and Miami. It's going to do well. It's going to be one of the highest viewed programs of the week. It's just the way we are now. The other thing that I thought was interesting, because I didn't feel this, Austin, last year, but 141 games were decided by 7 points or fewer. That's tied with 2022 for the most in NFL history. If I looked at last year, I felt like we went through some stretches where we were looking at a bunch of blowouts. I did not feel like we had the drama at the end of the game as much as we've had in years past. Again, that's a feel thing. They're telling me numbers-wise they're decided by 7 points or fewer. Now, if you have a 7-point game, a 6-point game, even a 5-point game, that doesn't always mean you've got a great finish. You know what I mean? But it's pretty crazy that I guess the competition was more on par. And I'll give you a little something else that factors into this for me. Wasn't this the first year in a long time you felt like the NFL had haves and have-nots, a little bit like Major League Baseball? We thought the AFC was going to be really good and really competitive. 11 teams maybe fighting for spots, or that had a real chance to even go to the Super Bowl. 13 teams maybe that had a chance to go to the playoffs. It turned out like the playoffs were set with 2 or 3 weeks to go, essentially. The league was not as competitive top to bottom as it feels like it's been. So I think that's why that number is a little surprising to me.
I mean, I think when we talk about the numbers in comparing close games, and you said it was 2012 was the last time, or what was the closest?
22.
I'm sorry, 2022. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Kansas City Chiefs accounted for 75% of those games because they're always in close games. Yeah, for sure. But this is what the NFL wants, though, Brent. It is that parity, right? And on the other side of it, where we saw how the divisions kind of shook out and how the conferences kind of shook out. Yeah, I agree with you. There was it seemed like, at least, there was 2 or 3 teams from each conference, and that was it. And you're probably going to get those, and it almost turned into the March Madness bracket of this past year. But I think those close games are the saving grace, and then that's the calling card. Because if you get in close games, number one, I'm sure ratings go up. But number two, I think if you're an NFL fan, you have a team where you look at, okay, if we would have made a couple more calls here, made a couple more plays there, maybe we would have been on a playoff run, right? And even as bad as it was last year, Jaguars fans can maybe even say that a little bit, where a couple plays here, a couple plays there, especially to kind of start the season off, then what are we talking about? So that's the beauty of sports. I think that's the beauty of the NFL, where you want to have those close games. You don't want to have the blowouts.
I think you just said something that's pretty interesting. You bring up the word parity, and I going with the standings and when we had the playoff set and who won what and some of the disappointing teams like the Jaguars, I would say I didn't think the league had a lot of parity. But if you have close games, do you have parity? See, I think there's a difference there. I think you can have close games competitively, but I don't think at the end of the day we did have a lot of parity. I thought we had a lot of good teams and a lot of bad teams. We didn't have a lot of right there in the middle teams. And there was definitely a difference. So I guess it's the way you think about it. And I know those things are I've got to be pretty close. If you have a lot of close games, Brent, well, the margin for error isn't great. Well, okay, the Jags are the epitome of that. You mentioned Kansas City. Well, the Jags are the epitome. Kansas City and the Jags are the epitome of this. Kansas City won whatever amount of games, 13, 14. They won 17 games in a row by one score over a couple-year span. The Jaguars lost 13 games this season and set a modern-day record by losing 10 of those games by one score or less. Well, guess what? We thought the Jags were bad, and we thought Kansas City was good.
So
Yeah,
that's just the way it goes. That's the way the league is built. So anyway, I thought it was kind of interesting. One other note of just for useless information, I think, the 31st consecutive year that the same teams did not match up in the Super Bowl. Back-to-back seasons. So if you are a betting person who just played in the Super Bowl, the Eagles and the Chiefs, I would bet against that happening in 2026. 25, but 26 Super Bowl. Let's do this, Rob. Let's take a timeout. We come back with Shock Your Mock. Don't forget to find the song. We can't have a Shock Your Mock without the song. Shock Your Mock presented by Everbank. Who's going to battle next? Coming up here on the Brent Austin Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network.
Most of us know how to throw. But you need to know what to throw. I'm not talking about footballs, baseballs, softballs. We're talking about those items you need to recycle. Republic Services explains it easy. Recycling simplified. 1. Know what to throw. When in doubt, throw it out. 2. Empty, clean, and dry those materials. It takes an extra minute, but it makes a big difference. And 3. Don't bag it. This makes the recycling process faster and more efficient. This is a look at the Republic Services North Florida Recycling Center. You can make this process even more efficient. By utilizing those 3 steps, Republic Services can help you become a better recycler in your home. Learn more at recyclingsimplified.com.
For the game day hustle and every day in between, juggling my show Jag Social to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament, but this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242. You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing. Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, you can take 10% off any water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
I'm Action Sports Jack Stuart Weber. Join me and the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation for Jacksonville Take Steps at Memorial Park on April 12th. This event is dedicated to finding cures and raising awareness for digestive diseases. Register now at actionnewsjax.com.
The Jacksonville Sharks are your champions.
It's one of the hot spots in the area.
Welcome you to String Sports Brewery out at the beach. Big crowd on hand tonight. The fans are here.
And now, the newest hot spot at the beach is open. String Sports Brewery in Jax Beach has opened its doors with rave reviews.
We're going to be fans forever.
Cozy up to the bar. Grab a seat in the sports-themed restaurant, or grab a seat outside and feel that breeze coming off the beach as the weather warms. Just like the original location in Springfield, try the popular beer menu and come for lunch or dinner too, because the food is fantastic.
We got a special guest in the house. He's happy. He's feeling good. He's Trayvon Walker.
It's where we hosted Jags Report Live in the football season, and the String Sports Brewery staff can't wait to host you. Hey, welcome back here to String Sports Brewery. And if you haven't checked out the new location in Jax Beach, you got to do it. String Sports Brewery, now with 2 locations in Springfield and now open in Jax Beach on Penman Road.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Hey, welcome back to the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network studios. Austen Lane hanging out. Do you know, by the way, that my Pac-Man mark has been beaten? So Dave Wax has been working hard on that. I have not been able to work as hard to try to overcome it. I will. Or my time is done. I mean, does Father Time catch up with my eyes and my reaction time and everything else? And I can't get to 125,000. I'm not ready to relinquish that just yet, but I haven't had a chance to work on it. Austin, just want to let you know.
I mean, I understand it, man, but you're wearing glasses more and more now, I feel like, on this show. So, I mean, either we got to get LASIK, man, to try to optimize your game while we can, or maybe, Brent, maybe we're hanging on a little too long here with the Pac-Man thing. Maybe it's time to invest in, I don't know, what else is, or Galaga. Or is Galaga actually on this one? Yeah, Galaga on here?
It might actually be on that one.
Oh, then maybe try to start, playing some Galaga or something like that, man. Give the eyes a little rest.
Yeah, I've actually, I might be getting like Aaron Rodgers. Father Time has caught up. I've actually messed around with wearing the glasses at night playing. I mean, I've literally played one time, but I was like, maybe I'll throw the glasses on. But
I thought you were going to say ayahuasca. Really much of a difference. I thought you were going to say, because you said Aaron Rodgers, and I've actually messed around with them. Like, oh, what? Here we go. And then, okay, I got you. The glasses.
All right, here's the deal. I'll take some of that cayenne pepper that we have in the studio before I play Pac-Man.
Now we're talking, man. Optimize, Brent. All about optimization. Speaking of optimizing,
I can optimize. Optimize is good. I didn't share all the things from today's NFL owners meetings before we get to Shock Your Mock. Oh, don't hit the song yet. But not a surprise, the Lions' proposal to eliminate the automatic first down for defensive holding did not pass. Too many unintended consequences, people say. The NFL will expand its replay assist to include helping officials on plays where flags were thrown on intentional grounding, roughing the passer, and runner hit out of bounds. This has passed, according to Jonathan Jones. And the NFL team owners have passed a rule that will change regular season overtime to giving both teams the opportunity to possess the ball. The period remains at 10 minutes. So I think those are all the changes, but the overtime is going to now be symmetric with the postseason. Which is actually not the case in baseball, say, right, where they go with the Texas tiebreaker rule now in the 10th inning, but they'll play it out into extra innings. It was kind of different like that in the NFL. Now they're going to make it the same with both teams getting the possession. So that's the update from the NFL owners meetings. More with Liam Coen on some different topics coming up before the end of the show. And I do want to still get to D'Amico Ryans and Shad Khan on an 18-game schedule. What he had to say just a couple of months ago about that topic. That's a topic that's not on the table right now, but it certainly is being broached and discussed a little bit more in earnest, as I would suspect over the next year that will build some momentum to happen 18 regular season game. But for now, it's another edition of Shock Your Mock, presented by Everbank. Rob, hit the music.
Shh, I see Shock Mocks.
I am shocked. I am shocked. That's what I mean. I am appalled.
Because you guys wouldn't figure it out. Because you guys wouldn't figure it out. Because you guys wouldn't figure it out. Figure it out. Figure it out.
Hey,
You need to get off Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins
and being a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
9. Cannot sleep on Kirk. Sleep on Kirk. Sleep on Kirk.
Figure it out.
Even for the internet, it's pretty shocking.
Mel, talk to me. He's got a huge trunk, though.
Figure it out.
He's got a huge trunk, though.
Figure it out.
He's got a huge trunk, though.
Duval.
I feel shocked.
Jack Chagrin.
I feel shocked.
Jack Chagrin.
I feel shocked.
Duval.
Is the song over?
With that, game on.
Brent, you've been out of the studio, man. You've been missing out on this gem. It's a shame.
For some reason, like I can never hear the song, so like I've talked over it. I've learned. I'm getting better, right? So this time I didn't talk over it. Well, until the end. But so now, Mike, my experience of listening to this song is just you dancing. It went in dead silence.
Yeah. Probably a little weird, but it's all good, man. When you feel that vibe, you feel the vibe, Brent. It's all good.
What do we got? We got Max Holmes against Rewind Jackson. Oh boy, we had to fit something on a screen.
I'm going to be honest. I mean, do we even waste our time with the second one? I mean, I guess because it is Shock Your Mock, and in true shocking mocking fashion, we got to do our due diligence and get through it, as we saw yesterday from Coach's Shock Mac. By the way, which I don't say it was trending on Twitter yesterday, but a lot of people had something to say about it, Brent. That's all I'm going to say. You know,
He was getting ripped. You know Coach Sully, right? Sully's like texting me. He's like, man, Coach is getting ripped on the messages here.
All right, let's get into it here. We got Max Holmes coming up on top. 0 trades, right? Just a good quality mock draft, Brent. That's what we look for, right? Don't got to reinvent the wheel here. Just trying to win a Super Bowl. All right, pick number 5. Let's go to Colorado. Let's go to the most intriguing prospect, I would say, of this entire NFL draft. And let's go with Travis Hunter, 6 feet tall, 188 pounds, 31 3/8 inch arms. And obviously shocking that he has the top overall production score of any athlete in this combine. You've seen him in the commercials, Brent. You've seen him doing interviews, and those interviews are somewhat boring sometimes, and that's a compliment to him, like I've said before, because this dude is humble when he doesn't have to be. You're touted to be a great cornerback or a great wide receiver, and you're like the most humblest dude of all time. So he's the total package. You know, it's just the question comes down to Travis Hunter of where do you play him, how do you play him, and how do you utilize him. In the past, the Jaguars haven't got the best out of their players when taking that philosophy. Obviously now with Liam Coen and company, you hope that if they do draft Travis Hunter, they can get the best out of him. NFL comparison real quick. At wide receiver, it's Devontae Smith. At cornerback, it's Darius Slay.
That's pretty amazing, really, if you think about it. You said this yesterday on Travis Hunter, too, and I'm just like, all right. As you started to say it yesterday, I remember thinking, okay, which one do you want, right? Do you want Devontae Smith or do you want Darius Slay? And it's like, basically you're getting this morph of both. Like those are, sometimes comps are like, oh, okay, whatever. Like Jake Ferguson yesterday was like, But when you get Devontae Smith and Darius Slay in a package, it's like, okay, I'll take that. I like the comp. We're going to talk Travis Hunter a little bit later on with Daniel Griffiths' article and, of course, more from Liam Coen that we had yesterday. But I'm starting to get the feel of this, Austin. It's a run the card to the podium, which is obviously not exactly what happens, but run the card to the podium if he's still on the board at number 5 and go get Travis Hunter kind of player.
Interesting.
That's what I'm starting to feel from the Jags organization, from everybody in town, and that's the way I think I feel about it. Maybe that's why I think everybody else should too.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You know, I mean, the biggest question is going to be, is he going to be there or not, right? And a lot of that's going to stem on if the New York Giants go with the quarterback or do they go with, you know, somebody who could be a dynamic playmaker. So it's definitely going to be an interesting watch those first, 6 picks or those first 4 picks up until the Jaguars' 5th pick. Pick number 36, we're going to Michigan. We're going with Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle, 6'4", 331, 33.5-inch arms, 22 reps on the bench press. Didn't do any of the numbers or any of the drills at the combine. NFL comparison is to Darryl Slayton. This is a broad body nose tackle whose tape can run hot and cold, Katy Perry style. Despite being a prototypical nose, he does have some sack production. Broad chest, huge shoulders, thick lowers. That is the sound of the Brent Martineau huge trunk horn. First time ever on this draft featured, and I'm sure we'll see it a lot more if we're talking about defensive tackles that can play nose or guards as well. He does have a poor first step and lacks a little bit of explosiveness.
I know you don't like the first step thing. I like the new good trunk horn that we have. I also have suggested with Kenneth Grant before.
It's the Brent Martineau huge trunk horn, just so you got it right. We're going to try to copyright that. Please continue.
All right. I cannot make enough T-shirts to go around these days. I really can't. Yeah. But here's the thing I like about Kenneth Grant. I've said this before, and I'll just say it again as his name pops up. We've now seen it multiple times on these drafts, especially if you can get him at 36. Do they actually have more of a need at that nose tackle spot right now, the way they are constructed? And could this be a potential replacement down the road and a savings for a guy like Devon Hamilton who's under contract? And listen, they do have Jordan Jefferson as well behind Devon Hamilton, but where do you need more help, I think is a fair question. Devon Hamilton, Jordan Jefferson, Eric Armstead, Mason Smith. And I think you can make the case that you could get better and upgrade now and in the future with a guy like Grant at nose tackle, maybe more than even Mason Graham at the three technique spot. But move on, Jared Wilson. Here's another guy that we've seen. By the way, the one thing we haven't said about Jared Wilson, and Hamby's not here to brag about him again from Georgia, but the Jags already did have a Jared Wilson. It wasn't spelled this way, but he's a safety, and I still think he lives in Jacksonville, actually. Former Jags safety, Jared Wilson.
Interesting. So real quick, Hamby did send me the numbers, and he actually is the top-ranked center in Hamby's center list, but guess what? This guy's the top-ranked center on anybody's list. Jared Wilson, 6'3", 310, 32 and 3/8-inch arms, which are actually pretty long, I feel like, for a center. He's got 10 and 3/4-inch hands, ran a 4.84. In terms of production, in terms of athleticism, you take those analytics, guess what? He's a top center overall in this draft. Ran a 4.84, like I said. Some could say he's the Darius Hayward Bay of centers. He had a 32-inch vertical. Some would say maybe he's the John Morant of centers. And then he had a 9.4 on the broad jump. Some would say he's the Jackie Joyner-Kersee of centers. She was a long jumper, by the way. She was a heptathlete, but really good in the long jump. Shout out to Jackie Joyner-Kersee. But needless to say, Brent, this guy, in terms of the position that he plays, has all the attributes of athleticism. He has all the attributes to be the top center overall. And if you're the top center overall at pick number 88, I don't think we're that mad at it.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting pick with center that early, right? I think a lot of people say, hey, can you get a little bit later? You got a couple third-round picks, so this might be an opportunity. What I would ask people is if you go get a center like this, who might be the best center in the draft, according to Mel Kiper Jr., well, then you have to play him, don't you? Like, if you're going to pick a guy at 70, do you feel like you've got to play him, or can you sit him behind a guy like Hainsey, who we talked about at length yesterday with Liam Coen? Just a thought. Meanwhile, Dylan Fairchild is at 88, so in the third round, they're just drafting. Max Holmes is just drafting the Georgia offensive line, Austin.
Drafting the Georgia offensive line, didn't do the best job of keeping Carson Beck upright, obviously, but nevertheless, yeah, let's go with the guard now. Pick number 88, we're going with Dylan Fairchild. He's 6'5", 318, 33-inch arms, 10-inch hands, and he was second in terms of the athleticism score against all guards of the combine. 27.5-inch vertical, which, okay, I guess that's good for a guard. If that was tackle, he'd be like 50th on athleticism score, but it is what it is. 9.3 on the broad jump. This guy offers more in pass protection than he does in run blocking. He has below average core strength. Not sure if he had to hold a plank at the combine. He didn't do that well. I'm not sure where that comes from. And he needs to secure first block with better pop.
All right.
Better pop. Those are more normal phrases, by the way, in his grade and evaluation from scouts. So I'll take it. We've had.
I'm starting to think that these scouts might be from Georgia too, as well, because I feel like all the Georgia write-ups, they're always like pretty normal. But like you get one guy from Kentucky that's like, what is this guy even doing playing football? You know, like I don't know, man. There's a little bias I'm starting to see a little bunch of Georgia players.
Yeah, to pick number 107, meet Austen Lane and Jack's Beach.
Yeah, and now there's a little bias towards me because, yep, you said it, man. Jack's Beach coming to Jacksonville. I'll see you off Myra Street, man. Let's go party. Jack's Beach, TCU, pick 106, wide receiver, 6'1", 214, 31.5-inch arms, 34.5 in the vertical jump, 10.5 in the broad jump. NFL comparison is Cedric Tillman. This guy, Brent, he's a big, strong receiver with some great ball skills. Hands are sticky strong, but he does lack explosiveness. Might have some problems in press coverage, but in zone coverage, this guy could be a beast. So
Yeah,
maybe,
we got
like,
the write-up
depending who
on,
you're
Jack
playing.
before.
So maybe it kind of depends who we're playing, right? If we're playing more of a zone-heavy team, well, and go ahead and call them up. Let's go. Oh, what's this? Maybe we're playing against more of a man coverage team. All right, Jack, down to the beach bars you go. You know, like, this is one of those guys you kind of got to – it's kind of like Travis Hunter. You kind of have to go off-field a little bit, Brent. This is like the all-field team.
I will say this right now. This Matt's Holmes draft so far on the left side that we've gone through is really checking some boxes for me. You go get Travis Hunter, obviously you can use him on both sides of the ball, labeled as a corner. You go get interior defensive line help, and you keep building your offensive line. That can't be a bad thing for Trevor Lawrence. And then you go add wide receiver too. So I do like the checking the boxes of kind of needs, other than I don't even see on his board. We'll get down here later. We don't have an edge. We just need 2 pass rushers apparently in Jacksonville, and we're never going to change that. We are redefining the way the game is played in the NFL.
You're going to have Brent Martineau there instead of covering this team during the preseason games, and like the on-field reporting is going to be holding oxygen masks for Trayvon Walker and Joshua Hines-Allen because they are not coming out of the game. And boy, are they going to be winded. Pick number 126. Let's go to Kansas. Let's go to Kobe Bryant. I like it. I mean, first team, all-team name, Kobe Bryant. You know, I'm not mad at that. 6 feet tall, 180, 31 1/4 inch hands, 31 1/4 inch arms, 9 1/4 inch hands. Maybe should have played for the Kansas basketball team. Ran a 4.53, which, you know, is pretty, it's suitable for playing corner, I guess. You want to see the 4.4 range. The guy only ran the 40-yard dash. I'm not sure if he got hurt or if he just wanted to run the 40-yard dash and say, let me play football, bringing that Mamba mentality, it felt like, to the combine a little bit. NFL comparison is Jack Jones. Actually went to high school with the Jack Jones. Probably not the same guy. So this guy has plenty of penalties and plenty of ball production to sift through, according to scouts. This guy, and once again, this is a quote, this guy wants the ball and will do whatever he can to get it. I feel like maybe he should have played wide receiver more than cornerback, but nevertheless, he has plenty of dog in him, even though he allowed 15.8 yards per reception. So this is like the ultimate boomer bust type of player. Either you're going to get Darrelle Revis in his prime sometimes, or you're going to get, you know, a tackling dummy sometimes.
I don't think that's obviously a 4th-round pick, so I get it. I mean, this is not a sure thing. I don't know if I love that inconsistency. That 15.8 is a big number to give up in the college game if you're like an NFL prospect. Now, the boom and bust part of that is go get the football. Jags could do a better job of that. They had a franchise record low of 9 turnovers last year, so you like that part of it. I feel like you feel a little bit slow as well at that 4.53 mark for the corner. But I think this would get some people excited, also come with some criticism. It's been kind of a polarizing pick in a lot of ways, especially right here. And I'm not really sure you need it, Austin. If you do get Travis Hunter, you've already got a nickel corner in Jordan Lewis, which means you have, of course, the depth that played last year, including Jarian Jones, who can compete and really get on the field. And then you've even got the Buster Browns of the world. I mean, you've got bodies. I don't know if you need at 126 a guy that might be inconsistent even coming into the league.
No, without a doubt. I just like the fact, though, like this seems to be more of an attitude play as well. I mean, this is one of the only few guys that I've read where, you know, a scout write-up and this guy has the dog in him, right? I mean, it's definitely an overused phrase, I feel like, but you very rarely ever see it, like, in bold on a draft profile, and this guy had it. So I think there's something to be said for that. But once again, can't understand why he didn't play wide receiver then if he's always trying to get the ball. Do him a favor. Pick 142. Let's go to UCF. Let's go to RJ Harvey, a guy we've seen a lot here in Shock Your Mock, which, by the way, makes my job easier because all I do is then take my notes, I copy and paste it, and boom, no research whatsoever. So the more the merrier. Are you listening, Rewind Jacks? The more the merrier in terms of players that we've had before on this show. RJ Harvey, 5'8", 205, 29-inch arms, ran a 4.4 in the 40, has a 38-inch vertical, 10.7 in the broad, and decided to bench press because why not? 16 reps at 225. This guy is a blue-collar back with a compact frame and willingness to get his nose dirty on each snap, Brent. Let's see what we got here. He lacks creativity, though, and lacks a little bit of a burst, but adds yards after contact with context balance, lower body strength. Adds, I'll say it one more time, lacks creativity and burst, but adds yards after contact with context balance, lower body strength. So this guy could be a workout warrior, not afraid to mix it up a little bit and get in there. This isn't your prima donna type of running back, Brent. This is more of that Isaiah Pacheco style. Lower your head and let me get some contact.
Context balanced, whatever you just said, sounds like good trunk to me.
There we
RJ
go.
Harvey is a popular pick for Jags fans, I think, because of the association of UCF, and I think they've seen him play. What I'm really curious about is the skill set and what Liam Coen is looking for in the third back that they need. What is that role? What do they need? I think they're going to have specific skill sets here with Gladstone and Coen that you better check the box. So when I see something like, okay, lacks burst, is that a problem for Coen with his third back? Does he need that? I would assume you got to better have good hands, and you probably got to have some pretty good smarts as well, because you might have to go in there and be a third down back at sometimes, which means pass protection. So I don't know what they're doing there. I don't know who they will likely target. I think the question you have to ask when you get a back on your draft board, does he fit the things that they are looking for?
Yep. Let's go to pick 182, going to Notre Dame. Mitchell Evans, tight end. Not sure where he's on Hamby's tight end rankings, but let me go ahead and break it down anyways. 6'5", 31 7/8 inch arms, 258 pounds, and 9 1/3. I mean, now we're getting to thirds. 9 1/3 inch hands. Just give me a fourth next time. Ran a 4.74 in the 40-yard dash, had a 31-inch vertical, and a 9.7 in the broad. NFL comparison is Will Dissly. This guy's got good ball skills, has a couple of incredible catches on tape. And you know what they say, Brent? The eye in the sky, it does not lie. He has a willingness to, once again, this is a quote, he has a willingness to get rough and handsy in coverage. Guy could be a bouncer at the beach bars, right? And as Gerald Alexander once said when we were watching film together as a defense, when somebody got pancaked, wasn't me, don't touch the girls. Get out the club. Average strain and finish against players in his size, so take that for how you want it as well. Once again, average strain and finish against players his size. So maybe he's not exerting himself when anybody's, around 6'5", 6'6". But anybody lower than him, he's a bully.
Interesting. Notre Dame had a bunch of tight ends that produced. We've seen a couple of them on our boards already. I don't know. I think we know what the tight end is supposed to look like in this Coen offense. I think there's a tell there. So I think the question is, do you look at that line across the top, right? You have at the 70th pick, Jared Wilson as a center out of Georgia, maybe the best center. You have Mitchell Evans at tight end at 182. I think these are two spots that the Jags need to covet and get younger at and plan for the future. What I think I could argue is those things should be flip-flopped. I think you might be able to get a center later in the game that you can bring along, especially with Hainsey under contract, and then you could get a higher profile tight end that could maybe impact your football team a little bit sooner and as soon as this year, but maybe definitely in year 2. So I think those are tricky positions because they have bodies and they obviously have some investment, but I think they could also use some upgrades. It's a matter of which one do you feel like is the most upgradable. And what I'm hearing and seeing, and based on contracts, I think tight end I would take in the 3rd round and try to get a better player at that spot than wait all the way until 182.
Yep. Well, speaking of upgrading, let's go ahead and upgrade our interior offensive line, I guess, one more time while our edge defenders are sucking wind. Pick 194. Let's go to Connor Colby, offensive guard out of Iowa. This guy has a legit mullet, might be the best mullet that we saw at the combine. So there is a mullet factor there. 6'6" with the mullet, 309 pounds with the mullet, 32-inch arms with the mullet, and 10-inch hands once again with the mullet. Ran a 5.11 in the 40-yard dash, 28.5-inch vertical jump, 9.2 in the broad jump. This guy, Brent, is obviously going to be more of a rotational type of dude. While he is durable and has some experience, over 50 career starts in 4 seasons, he acts fluidity. The IQ has been lacking a little bit, gets fooled by twists, and he's been, and I quote, rolled backwards by immense power. So don't want to see your guards getting rolled backwards by any means. So once again, it's probably more a development play. And then last but not least, because I guess we're trying to take the Eagles blueprint and draft all the Georgia Bulldogs. You know, they drafted them a couple years ago in Philly after they won a national championship. Georgia didn't win a national championship, so this could be a good enough roster to get a second place in the division behind the Houston Texans. Nevertheless, let's go to Nazir Stackhouse. I don't think he's related to Jerry, but couldn't find it out. 6'4", 327 pounds, 32.5-inch arms, 10 1/4-inch hands. Defensive tackle, ran a 5.15 in the 40, 27.5-inch vertical, 8.9 in the broad jump. This guy was a 2-down rotational tackle, Brent. Great strength, limited production though. Basically going to be brought in as a block eater. He has tight hips and he's limited to the point of attack.
2 thoughts on these guys. Colby, by the way, will not be part of the Jags version of the Ass Dash if he's getting rolled back. So that's a problem on the interior. We're going to need that. And then the Jaguars draft here for Max Holmes. He really he has the feels of a basketball team. Stackhouse for Jerry. We got Kobe Bryant in here. We can even get Kenneth Grant. Maybe he's related to Horace somehow.
Man, what a pull, Brent. Bring out the glasses for that one. I like that a lot, Horace Grant. The OG. Good call, Brent.
Mentioned.
I like that.
Hey, before you get rolling on with the next level of our 500-page Shock Your Mock for Rewind Jacks, let me remind that during this next mock draft analysis, you'll be able to easily jump on everbank.com/draft while listening and enter for the sweepstakes for the 2025 NFL Draft Night trip, the Everbank Draft Night experience. Duval your way to Green Bay, round-trip airfare for 2, hotel accommodations for up to 3 nights, 2 tickets to the first round of Draft Night. Hey, folks, it's free to fill it out and enter. Why not? That sounds like a great experience. You have until Friday to do it. So it closes on April 4th. So you got to get in there. Everbank.com/draft. All right. Rewind Jacks.
I mean, you're going to have plenty of time to fill it out.
Shock Your Mock.
Yeah, you're going to have plenty of time to fill that one out along with some friends as well. And heck, if you want to file your taxes, let's go ahead and let's get a tax sponsor on here. Because you can file those bad boys too. Get your W-9s ready because here comes Rewind Jacks, everybody. Listen, as you can say, I don't know, 25 trades, don't really care. Not going to break those down. But he did start at pick number 61. I guess, hey, you know, when you come off a year where you're picking number 5, Brent, I guess you have the luxury to go, you know what? We don't need that much talent. We don't need that many players. Let's just go ahead and build it for the next couple of seasons, everything. We're all good right now. First pick, though, at 61, so out of the first round. I'm sure NFL people are mad because they can't play their commercials during the Jaguars draft picks. We got Marcus Mbow. Brent, is that right? Marcus Mbow?
Mbo.
Embo, gotcha. Marcus Embo, defensive tackle out of Purdue, 6'4", 303 pounds, 32-inch arms, 10.5-inch hands. He just ran the shuttle. This is more of a shuttle guy, not a straight line guy, but more of a shuttle guy. Ran a 4.67. NFL comparison is Ali Marpet. I believe that's how you pronounce it. This guy, what he lacks for strength and size, he makes up for it with athleticism. More likely a guard at the next level. He rockets out of his stance and slams into the initial target with sheer force. Top Gun style. That was my part. NFL Scout said he hasn't played guard since 2022, so the question is going to be whether or not he can handle the bigger, stronger bodies inside. But more than likely, this guy will be playing guard at the next level as opposed to tackle. I guess when you're 6'4", and you're not from Missouri, you got to play guard. I don't know. I don't really understand it, but everyone says he's going to play guard. So, all right.
Yeah, this is a fascinating start to the draft. Already going with an offensive line. I mean, you waited 2 days to pick, and we're going with an offensive line that's going to be on the depth chart.
Yeah, but now, Brent, I think we're starting to see a pattern, though. Now we're seeing some more defensive linemen. We're seeing some trench warfare here, if you will, from Rewind Jacks. Pick number 76. I know this was on Hamby's all first team here. Kyle Kennard, out of South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. I can't really see it, but he's out of South Carolina, I believe. 6'4", 254, 34-inch arms. Those are long. 9 3/4-inch hands. And dude is wearing, this is a black beanie alert. The guy is wearing a black beanie in his combine picture. So confirmed might be a dog as well. Ran a 4.73 in the 40, had 23 reps on the bench press. NFL comparison is DJ Wanham. This guy has a long frame with room for additional mass. Only played 1 year at South Carolina, but had some very high-end production for playing in the SEC.
Yeah, we got Kennard yesterday, I think, as well. And I do like, I will say, I've been hammering the most criticism I've given people is that where's the edge help? And so if you're going to get edge at 75 or in these first 3 rounds, I think that's a pretty good thing to do for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I can't complain with this pick.
All right, so then we got Jax Beach once again coming here at pick, is that 80? I think it's 83. 83. Pick 80. Yep, pick 83 is Jax Beach, 6'1", 214, 31.5-inch arms, 34.5-inch vertical, 10.5 in the broad jump. We just talked about him. NFL comparison is Cedric Tillman. This guy's a big, strong receiver with great ball skills. Hands are sticky strong. Brent might have to call him Spider-Man or Peter Parker or Miles Morales. I'm not sure what kind of Spider-Man you're into. He lacks explosiveness, though. Might have problems with that press coverage.
All right, Jags have a lot of picks here, along with edge, receiver. Then they go after the defensive tackle. Holy Toledo.
Pick 88. All right, pick 88. We are going with Darius Alexander out of Toledo. I didn't even make that connection until I had to zoom up with my eyes. 6'4", 305 pounds, 34-inch arms, 10-inch hands. He is playing defensive tackle, right? Yeah. Defensive tackle. Brent, yep, so this guy ran a 4.95 in the 40. Bench press 225 28 times. This guy supposedly is capable of destroying blocks, but has to do a better use of balancing his force. Capable of destroying blocks, but has to do a better job of balancing his force. So this could be like an Anakin Skywalker situation where is he on the light side or is he on the dark side? We know how Anakin Skywalker turned out, ended up being Darth Vader. Don't need a Darth Vader on this team unless you got that dog in you, so then maybe you do. He possesses coveted length and has a 3-down skill set. He is somewhat sluggish, though, in his short area footwork. That's Darius Alexander.
By the way, Toledo, I'm trying to look for some Toledo lineage here. Barry Church, former Jaguar, went to Toledo. Kareem Hunt is a Toledo guy. Deontay Johnson as well. Let me see if I find anybody else that sticks out.
A lot of high character guys there.
It wasn't Barry Church's fault what happened in London.
Oh, I wasn't even talking. I forgot. See, I wasn't even talking about him. I was talking about Deontay Johnson and Kareem Hunt. But yeah, go ahead and throw him in there. Isn't Quinion Mitchell from Toledo, or not? Or was he from Akron?
Yes.
Who's Toledo? Right. Oh, got it. All right. On to the next one, Brent.
Yeah, go to the next one. 95 is Cameron Scatabo, by the way. I'm going to ask you something to even set this up, because both these folks have running backs in their mock drafts. So would you rather have an R.J. Harvey out of UCF, or would you rather have Cam Scatabo if you just took the running backs picked?
You know, I think where you got Harvey, I'd rather take him at 142 than I would at Scatabo at, what are we at? Pick 90-something, 95, 96, what I can see. So I would probably get a little more value with Harvey, even though Cam seems to be like, he's kind of like the hot name because of the college football playoff and everything like that. So I would lean towards taking a guy maybe a little deeper. But Cam Scatabo, nonetheless, 5'9.5", 219 pounds, 21 7/8 inch arms, and 9 3/8 inch hands. He was second in the running back production score due to NFL Gen Stats, 39-inch vertical and 10.3 in the broad jump. So in terms of testing, he did test out pretty well. He came to Arizona State from Sacramento State. NFL comparison is Jalen Warren, which I think we kind of milked that one in a little bit, but whatever. Okay, if you say so. This guy, Brent, is a carnage creator with compact frame and elite control balance. This guy creates carnage, man. They had a field day with this dude's write-up. He has physicality and edge, making him an intriguing as a 3-down back, but he does lack the desired acceleration out of his cuts.
All right. I think Scatabo's interesting to me. It'd be a fun pick. I don't know if that's what the Jags need right now to help them out. Be fascinating. All right, jump to a little safety help, which we haven't seen a ton of recently. But the Jags, I know they got safety in the free agency period with Murray, but it certainly seems like they could use some more safety back there as they rebuild the secondary, Austin.
Yep, now we're going back to the SEC for back-to-back Oklahoma picks because they had a promising season last year. So let's go pick 115, I believe. We're going Billy Bowman, 5'10", 192, 21.5-inch arms, 8 5/8 hands. He's got Kenny Pickett hands, Brent. Probably not a lot of interceptions coming this guy's way, but it's all good. You play on defense. 4.42 in the 40, 35-inch vertical, 10.3 on that broad jump. He has athleticism, but his size and lack of tackling prowess may drop him in this draft. He's meddlesome in zone coverage, right? He's whimsical. He's meddlesome. Like he's out there in zone coverage, but he's looking for the ball to intercept. So he's more of a ball hawk than he is actually playing the zone coverage. He comes in hot and fails to break down when tackling. Once again, comes in hot and fails to break down while tackling. That's Billy Bowman for you.
All right, Billy Bowman. Moving on to our other Oklahoma guy.
Yep, we're going linebacker, 126 looks like. Let's go with Danny Stutzman, 6'3", 223, 32 1/8 inch arms, 9-inch hands, ran a 4.5 in the 40, 34-inch vertical. So this guy is known for having studious play recognition, Brent, and he always stays one step ahead of the blockers. So we got a nerd alert, Brent. Got a nerd alert in the field here. This guy sifts through moving parts with calm eyes and efficient movement. A nerd with calm eyes, Brent. Man, that's what we're talking about, right? It's almost like that one movie starring Freddie Prinze Jr., She's All That. Blake Bills, you're big into movies. Who was the girl in that movie? I don't remember her name. I just put down she was the artsy one, but do we know her name, the actress that's in She's All That?
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It was random, right? But I remember Freddie Prinze Jr. being in it. But that's essentially what you're getting
Rachel
here.
Lee Cook?
Yeah, maybe it was Rachel A. Cook. Yeah, so this guy is the Rachel A. Cook of NFL linebackers coming up here. So that's Danny Stutzman. Pick, I can't see, 126. There we go. And by the way, Bleak, I know it's not your fault, man. It's just this
glasses.
Well, this guy's got so many picks, Brent. It just, it condenses on the screen. Woo! Next pick.
Hamby made this graphic.
Yeah, I know. Pick 128, I think we're at now. God, it just keeps going. Yes. Tyler Barron. Brent, what does he play? Edge, right? Miami?
Edge guy. Yeah.
All right. Yep. So, I mean, we like that as well, but it's so many picks. 6'5", 258, 33 and 1/8 inch arms. Hands were 10 inches. Ran a 4.62 at the combine. 35 and 0.5 in the vertical. 10-1 in the broad jump and had 19 reps on the bench. By the way, a little caveat with that. You want to see somebody as a defensive lineman / edge get in that 20 range, because 20 is kind of the benchmark of, okay, this guy is kind of a weight room warrior, if you will. He puts the time in. Anything anything under 20, then scouts start to question, well, how much is this guy in the weight room? He has NFL size with versatility to stand up or have his hand in the dirt, but he doesn't have the juice to win his rushes with speed. Got to have that juice a little more.
Interesting. He's got some NFL pedigree with his dad as well, and they say he was more of a physical freak kind of guy that's developed into a bit of a technician. So interesting selection, especially this late. Might be a guy worth taking a chance on.
Pick 142. We're going to Alabama. Roll Tide. We're going with. All right. Well, I understand the guy's name's Malachi Moore, but he spells his name like a guy that I went to high school with, who was a giant hippie that we used to always make fun of his name. So I'm going to call him like we call that dude's name. So we have Malachi Moore at pick 142. So Malachi is 5'11", 196, 29 and 5-inch hands. Malachi didn't do any of the combine numbers, didn't do any of the drill stuff like that, but scouts say that he can play all safety spots, and if you want to bump him down to corner as well, you can go ahead and do that. I guess in terms of athleticism, it wasn't the strongest showing in terms of what they want to see for numbers and everything, but in terms of depth and in terms of what he can do, maybe not a bad pick for where he's selected here. That is Malachi Moore.
Yeah, he's another one of those. He's played a lot of football, by the way, too, at Alabama, and is coming off season-ending surgery, so I don't know if that red flags him or has dropped him to where Rewind Jack's got him in the draft at 142. Coming up next, I'll help you out here, 174, Miles Frazier. 2 out of the last 3 guys are named Frazier, the LSU and University of
scrambled eggs.
Texas San Antonio.
I was trying to say
Miles Frazier.
Nothing much besides that Frazier theme song. I've never seen the show, but I know it's like, some here to bounce a coming, some of them browning, something scrambled eggs. That's all I got about him. I'm not going to lie. I kind of got upset with this whole draft and kind of phoned it in, Brent, the past couple picks. So not too much with Frazier.
Jonah Monheim is the next one at 182 out of USC. Could be a Tony Baselli favorite there from the alma mater.
So I have this dude, Brent. This guy is 6'4", 302 pounds, played the center position. The NFL needs to investigate this guy immediately because I'm not sure if Dan Campbell was upset last year of how everything shook out for the Lions. This is Dan Campbell in a wig. If you see this guy, this is Dan Campbell in a wig. Like, I don't want to say it's Dan Campbell's son because, like, you know, like when you have kids, like, yeah, they look a lot like you, but they don't look identically like you. This is Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell wants to go back and play because coaching isn't getting the job done. He wants a Super Bowl in the worst way. He wants to bite kneecaps, and he's going to do that under the moniker of Jonah Monheim.
I like it. I haven't seen him yet, but I guess now I really look forward to looking him up.
Check him out, man. And then the last pick, thank God, pick 194, cornerback, University of San Antonio. We're going with Zach Frazier. Here the veins are coming. Something craft scrambled eggs. 6'3", 186, 32 and 7/8 inch arms, 8 and 1/4 inch hands. Ran a 4.36 in the 40. That's pretty legit. 36.5 inch vertical, 10.6 on the broad jump. So an athletic freak. He's tall, long, and very fast. Has the tools to become a more consistent hindrance in press coverage. He turns 25 in October though, and has only started 1 season at UTSA. Can be overly responsive to route fakes in and off man coverage.
Well, that's a dozen picks now in this draft, and I think the thing that probably intrigues a guy like James Gladstone on this mock draft is what follows pick 194.
with all the trading and everything that was done for Rewind Jacks, this year doesn't matter. It's more about next year, where they would collect a 2026 first rounder from Pittsburgh, a 2026 second rounder from Dallas, and a 2026 second rounder from Kansas City. So that's maybe that's where the fruit in this mock draft is in 2026, where they're getting a bunch of early round drafts. But they don't want to use the first or second round this year very much. They didn't pick until 61. So, man, please don't send them that long. It's hard to fit it on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to break down all the trades that what are we doing here, man? I mean,
well,
hey,
listen,
Brent,
I'm a believer.
Hey, RIP to us in 2026 if this actually happens, because Shock Your Mock might be canceled. I'm putting an end to it.
Yeah. I know we're joking about Rewind Jackson, the amount of picks and everything else. That was a lot of work, by the way. They must have to trade all those things. But at the same time, I just don't see the impact on this year for the Jags. And I'm a believer that the Jags can go now. So that's why I kind of like Max Holmes' draft. It checks boxes on the left side. I think you can question whether the center should be used at pick 70 or whatever. But you're checking some good boxes. And, of course, I'm a big fan of Travis Hunter. So if you can get Travis Hunter at number 5, sign me up. I favor Max Holmes' draft here.
As well, but I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't mad about the Frazier picks from Rewind Jacks. I love to sing the song, never seen the show once again. But hey, baby, I hear the Blues are calling. Toss salad and scrambled eggs. They're calling again.
YB400 brings up something else. He said, I drafted a center, but Coen mentioned that Luke Fortner is kind of familiar with the system. Will Fortner get cut if he knew the system already? And I don't think that was a crazy tip. I think he was just kind of acknowledging that we've got some guys in place, and it's nice that both centers know. I don't have a feel that they're going to try to resurrect the career of Fortner necessarily, but I also don't feel like they've given up on him. I think what you have to ask yourself if you're a Jags fan is, if you're going to take the center from Georgia, let's just say in this mock draft at pick number 70, is he better than Luke Fortner? Because you already have a guy under contract. So anytime they take a center, are you going to get a guy that's better than the backup that you already have? And I know where fans feel on the Fortner stuff, but I think it's also worth saying, hey, he's got a guy who's familiar with him. This is a new regime. Maybe he finds his game a little bit more. And he also sat and learned a little bit from a guy like Mitch Morse, too. So we really have no idea what kind of player right now in 2025 Luke Fortner is going to be. And I could very well see him be in the depth on this football team in that position. But I also don't think anything that Coen said to me yesterday just automatically qualifies him to have that spot.
I know, that's fair. I mean, I think I agree with that as well. Like, listen, you may like players, you may have a familiarity with players, but if you have a chance to upgrade said position, I feel like you do that, right? So maybe Luke Fortner will be there, but if an opportunity presents itself where you can upgrade that position, I think Gladstone will go with that direction instead.
All right. Hey, there's another from the owners' meetings. I don't know. Let me just make sure before I'm just like, this guy looks like he covers the Steelers, okay? For the Post-Gazette. Art Rooney II said he has a good feeling about Aaron Rodgers, and the signs are pointing in that direction of him signing with the Steelers. So just the latest on the Aaron Rodgers front, potentially going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot coming out of the NFL owners meetings, and that continues. Let's make sure we catch up on a break. We come back, talk a little more about Travis Hunter with the Daniel Griffiths column today. That is on actionsportsjacks.com. We have some more sound from Liam Coen. We got to rifle through some of that. Hopefully even get to D'Amico Ryans. And we'll talk a little golf at the bottom of the hour with Ward Clayton as well, and the Masters. But a lot more football talk, but we've got to get on a break. We'll be back. Brent Austin Show, the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give That One Painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with That One Painter First Coast on your team.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
I'm ready to show my hand, ready to take a stand. Wait on a sign above, and I am ready, ready. 'Cause I just live for the game. 'Cause I just live for the game. 'Cause I just live for the game. The crown's for the tape. I got it. Iconic. I'm built to win. Back to back, I do it again. I'm iconic. I'm one of a kind. I'm iconic. I'm built to win. I'm one of a kind.
Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices her pitching. Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. bakersport.com.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
Hey, welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show here on a Tuesday. We take you through the rest of the week as we get April started, by the way. The draft, April 24th. So what are we looking at? 3 weeks from this Thursday. Jaguars pick 5th overall. Green Bay, Wisconsin is the site of the NFL draft. So a lot more NFL discussion still to come over the next, 3 weeks plus, and that means Shock Your Mock continues too. So make sure you get your Shock Your Mocks in, and we will continue to do that. We'll have a bracket the week of the draft, and whoever wins the either votes or selection committee, if you will, and you can send them to sports@actionnewsjacks.com. You can send them to us on social media. I've tweeted a bunch the last couple of days, just said, hey, put them right in there and we'll get to them. So if you want to be involved, have some fun with it. Certainly send us your mock drafts. Hey, looking for a better used car shopping experience? You can find one at Nimnik Buick GMC. All makes and models, Honda, Toyota, Kia, Mazda, Ford, all makes and models. Trading in your old vehicle. Don't forget who gives you top dollar for your trade. Nobody but Nimnik, and you can do that with a Car Bravo program, or you can buy new as well and get a GMC Sierra 1500. That's what I've got. 0% APR financing, 0% plus $10,000 off select GMC Sierra 1500s. Check them out in Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia. Nobody has a bigger inventory of GMC Sierras than Nimnik Buick GMC. NimnikBuickGMC.com. Nimnik Buick GMC on Phillips Highway. GMC, we are professional grade. Brent Martineau Austen Lane. Bleak Bills hanging out here on a Tuesday. We got a lot to rifle through over the next 20 minutes or so. So let's do that now. And let's get to some sound if we can, Rob. You give me, we'll skip past that first one and go to the building of the staff, Rob, from Liam Coen. I want to, before this gets a little bit dated over these last couple of days, just more that we collected yesterday. We're down there in Palm Beach and what he has to say about the team, the build. I thought it was some interesting stuff about Baker Mayfield. We've got a Shad Khan on the 18 games from the London interview that I had that I haven't shared yet, and also might even get to D'Amico Ryans over the next few minutes. So we'll go lightning round here and listen to Liam Coen, the new head coach of the Jags, talk about building out his staff and what goes into it.
That was probably what took up the most of my time early on that you're ready for, because you have a board, right? A coach's depth chart that you've been kind of creating over time, right? Over the years of doing this, you're banking them and then finally getting them on paper. Well, you don't just get to pick them. It's not the draft. You have to go get them. And so now you're recruiting against another coach at multiple, maybe other places, college, NFL, families, everything. You have to sell. You're back in recruiting mode. So, hey, was just in college not too long ago, got into mode real quick, and we were rolling. I mean, that was the hardest part, though, was getting on those calls, being able to recruit 2 a.m. on the West Coast Zooms. It was a lot, but, man, really pleased with the staff we were able to put together, and that was the most stressful part, though.
I think it's pretty. That was a pretty good way to look at it in hindsight, Austin. Right? I mean, you are competing against a lot of people, and so basically, what he's saying is you got to put your salesman hat on. When you go to the free agency stuff, you're really just. I mean, you're competing, but you've got a lot of money to spend. I don't think you can just lure coaches with money. I think it's more about, hey, where's the ladder going to go? What's the money look like? What's my family want to do? Most of these coaches probably have families, so I thought it was a pretty fascinating look at how he built the staff. And my guess is, you don't get exactly who you want, what you want all the time, but you also have to have a plan B and a plan C. He kind of referenced it as a depth chart of sorts, just for folks that, well, they block you from getting, like Tampa did on a couple of occasions. So pretty wild to hear the behind the scenes of how this staff got built, and now we'll figure out how good it is.
Yeah, it's something that we all knew, but it is still wild to hear just out loud how, you go with what you're familiar with, right? Where like there's a bunch of candidates out there that probably never get a look just because like, well, I've never worked with this guy before, right? Because it's all about, the cohesiveness. It's all about how you get along with everybody. So it is wild sometimes. And listen, I think the staff overall is a great staff, but once again, time will tell. It's all in the wins and losses. It's all in the details. But it's just wild to me how, you go with what you know. You go with what you feel comfortable of. I mean, You didn't do that with me. Like you essentially just went in your phone book and said, all right, well, A's, here's Austin. Let's give him a call and see if he's interested in the job. And lo and behold, I'm here. But we never had I knew of you, you knew of me, but we never had any radio experience before this, but you took a chance. And I think you do have to find that balance sometimes, Brent, where, and this is coaching, I think it's in any kind of, line of work where we get comfortable with what we know. And sometimes that is the best because you have to see these people every single day. But I think where you can make the most progress, where you can make the most splash is maybe hiring that one guy that no one was really looking at, or that one guy that, was just kind of under the radar a little bit that you may not know so well, but you take it upon yourself to build a communication, to build a relationship, and then maybe you get the best out of that guy with his coaching prowess.
I think you bring it up. I think it's a great thing. I know we've talked about this in the past. I don't want to assume everybody heard it, but I also don't want to belabor it. And exactly what you just said. I think there's two ways to think about putting a staff together and hiring people. It's familiarity and what you do. And I think Coen really leaned on that, like familiarity and language and getting on board quickly. And I think that really showcases that they think they can win right now. That's what it tells me. Then the other side of it is, hey, fill in the gaps, right? Fill in the gaps that you're not good at. Fill in your weaknesses with the other person. Sure, you'll still have some similarities and familiarities, but you can also, you don't have to get everybody like-minded, everybody that walks the same way. I don't think we want a football team that way. Right? I don't think you want a football team that way. So do you want a coaching staff that way? And so there's a little bit of a danger zone there. Now that's risky business too, because if you miss on that, that can really splinter and not work out well. And I think we've seen that in the past in various coaching staffs across the league, across sports, but here in Jacksonville up close. So it is a fascinating thing. And hopefully you got it right. You hire a lot of people. My guess is he's not going to hit a home run on every single hire that he just made. Interesting as he hires people, as they bring in people to the locker room and acquire talent, draft free agency, there's also this culture that he's trying to build. I think something that was interesting to me, and I didn't talk a lot about it yesterday, that when he said early on, hey, we're putting signage up around the building and things like that, you don't think of those things. You're like, wow, that's part of this, right? That's part of the idea of it. The head coach has to say what is going to work, what's going to resonate. Well, that's called culture at the end of the day. And when we think about culture with this new regime, we think about the Rams. And there's been a lot of references to the Rams and a lot of good references to the Rams. We'll take that. If we're the East Coast, Southeast version of the LA Rams right now, I don't think that's a bad thing. That's not a bad connotation. It's a copycat league. I think everybody's okay with that. But listen to the story on Coen talking about McVay, which really opened the eyes of Liam Coen as a leader.
I remember being in my third or fourth month working for Sean, and I'm just drawing. I'm a drawer, right? I'm just here, drawing plays, trying not to, just get in the way. And he comes by my office one day at 6 p.m. I'm just studying. It's the off season, and he walks by my office, comes in, and is like, "Hey man, just really you're doing a great job, and I appreciate you being here. I'm really happy you're here." And that was out, and I was like, oh, okay. You can be told you're doing a good job in this sport, because all the other places I'd been and how I'd grown up, it's like, hey, you just do what you're told when you're told, and you don't do it because somebody said good job. You do it just because you're a coach and you're a little bit more of a soldier mentality. Though it was just a different feeling that you're like, oh, okay. It's okay to tell guys, hey man, I love you. It's okay to open up and be actually a human being too. And so that was always the culture where you felt like, man, all right, I have to be at a high level while I'm here, but man, I can be myself.
I think everybody does this, man, in walks of life. You do this, you beat to a different drum, maybe than I beat to or whatever. Some people try to be contrary just by nature, just to be contrary. But then we also have to ask ourselves sometimes in whatever walk of life it is, whatever you're doing, I find this question I ask a lot now in this profession is, are we doing this just because we've always done it? And it is I'll give you a great example of it. The NCAA tournament, going with the Gators to San Antonio, we've had a lot of discussions about that. This is something in our business that we normally would be at and go. We with Action Sports Jacks travel to a lot of things that a lot of people don't. We usually make that investment and do it. And I had conversations with management over the last few weeks. I was like, I just don't feel like there's bang for the buck
to do it. The games are later at night. We're not even going to be on TV a lot. It's on the weekend, or we're going to be on at 12:15 on Monday if they win the national championship. I think it might be better to be in Gainesville for a parade. I'm not telling you I'm right on it. I'm just saying these are the things that we ask ourselves now, too. I thought that was really enlightening from Liam Coen, where he just was like, man, everything about this sport doesn't have to be tough guy. Right? Like, it's okay to show a little vulnerability, a little sensitivity. And I think more and more players are doing that. I think you might see more and more coaches doing that. I was even talking to him a little bit about his sleep schedule, Austin. You know how coaches are, right? You got to be in there 5 a.m. or whatever it is. He's like, I don't really operate that great at 4:35 in the morning. I'm more like a 6 o'clock guy, like even just moving it back, but I'll stay a little later, right? So, But that's not really the normal, the time in the NFL. You know this, you got to sleep in the office, or you're not doing a good enough job. You're not working hard. Like, again, part of the refresh with these guys and the ability to actually be transparent enough to say it in front of a microphone, kind of appreciate it.
Listen, I'll be honest. I think it's refreshing to hear when Coen speaks like that, because it isn't the status quo of doing things of old, back when I played, and it's almost like the toxic masculinity of like, you got to be a man, and like this is a man's game and all this stuff, man. Like that way of thinking, I feel like, is outdated, and you're not going to get the best out of your players by thinking that way. Now, it's not to knock player or coaches like Dan Campbell and the old school, because like I think there is a blend of that. But what I think the difference is between a Dan Campbell and a coach of the old is it's the importance of understanding to let players just be themselves. And I speak on this all the time. And I think when I played the best of my career, and it definitely wasn't in Jacksonville, like I felt like if I would have had playing time more in Chicago or even Detroit, like I felt like I would have put up better numbers than I did in Jacksonville, because in Jacksonville, and listen, I enjoyed my time with the Jaguars. It was some of my favorite moments, but I always felt like, maybe this is just me being from a small school, I didn't feel like myself. I always felt like I had to like try to be a people pleaser. I was a 5th round pick from a small school, so like I'm always walking on eggshells. Essentially, like I'm trying to be a people pleaser. Like yes sir, no sir, all this stuff, right? And that wasn't who I am. It wasn't like how I came up and everything. But like I had to adapt. I felt like, because that's what it took to make it in the NFL. It wasn't until later on in my career where I realized, like, man, the more you can be comfortable in your own skin, and the more you can be comfortable just being yourself, the better you're going to play. And that dawned on me later in life. But I think that's the kind of message that Liam Coen's delivering here, where, we don't have to do it the way that maybe you've been ingrained in doing it. Like, it's okay to be yourself. Like, it's okay to celebrate who you are, right? And I think there's something to be said for that.
Wow, that's really cool what you just said there, and I think you're right on the money. And I'm not even talking about just what Cohen's doing. Gladstone really, like, literally will say that. Like, and now again, will he preach it? We'll see it, or will we even see it? But he has said that. Remember that first meeting he had that we played? It was kind of like odd a little bit that he's meeting the staff when he walked in the building and got hired. But he said that he's basically, hey, we want you to be the best version of yourself. We want to ingrain that here. Like, that's the kind of atmosphere we want. No matter who you are, you be the best you. If you're the best you, and we can get the best you, we feel like that's going to really pay dividends, and not try to make you something different or try to make you the way the NFL or any business or sport league wants you to be.
So, yeah, I mean, if I was Gladstone, even if I was like Tony Bassell, like, if I was in a role where I'm trying to like establish the culture and like what kind of players are bringing in, the first thing that I'm purveying, the first thing that I'm trying to get the message across is the fact of, when we talk about football players, and we talk about, the daily lives of an athlete, you only get so much energy, okay? You only get so much energy a day, and some have more than others. Some have families, some have kids, some are single, some go to the beach bars, right? Like, there's energy, and there's only so much you get. So I'm going to focus on, we're not going to we're going to build up a culture and we're going to bring in the right guys, but we're not going to like run a dictatorship where it's like you have to do things a certain way. There's got to be a uniform about your team, but for the most part, you need to celebrate individuality. And then in doing that, and realizing that that's when guys grow and come together, right? Because if you see a guy sitting across from the locker room and you learn a story a little bit, and maybe you learn, like, guess what? Maybe whether it's politics, whether it's religion, we're not the same, but you know what? I'm willing to go to war with this dude. Like, that's how you build the team. And once again, I think it's such an old school way of thinking. We think of, okay, it's got to be my way or the highway. Take off those hats, turn those hats around. You can't even wear hats in the stadium. You can't wear certain clothes in the stadium. When you start doing all of that and you start taking away from players' personality and you just try to make it more and more uniform, that's where I feel like you have problems, especially if you aren't winning football games.
Yeah, and I'm going to give you segue right into a great one here. Baker Mayfield. Maybe this is why Baker Mayfield had a career year under Liam Coen, right? Because he allowed him to do that. And listen to what he had to say, because I think this is not just about Baker and Liam Coen. It's fascinating to listen to, but it's really about where the Trevor and Liam Coen relationship could potentially get to or go given time. Keep in mind, Coen and Baker weren't around each other even that long, but he was still able to get tremendous play, and that's really the book on Coen. He gets the most out of quarterbacks. Here he is yesterday.
And obviously I was with him for a short time in LA. That helped bridge that gap a little bit. And I can't thank Baker enough for what we were able to do last year. That was such a cool year. And he was such a big part of that. Maturing off the field, man, he became a father. He became a husband. Like, he has really been able to grow. He understands the game at a high level. I think he's a little underappreciated from that aspect of his game. We were able to have really good dialogue, which only helps being on the field and having communication. And his leadership goes, without saying. So it was easy to have those dialogues. Just being able to have honest conversations. Like, we had some real hard, at times, honest conversations that allowed us to, in times of crisis, be okay, right? In times of adversity, have real fluid conversations, because it gets heated. Bakes yelled at me. I was okay with that. We had a good conversation, we moved on, but every relationship's different, and I think that's what's important, is you learn something from Matthew Stafford, from Jared Goff, from all these guys, and Baker, to be able to take for these relationships moving forward.
This has a little bit of a feel of Doug Peterson in the sense of, I remember saying when Doug got here, that last bit especially from Liam, where he says, take a look from Matthew Stafford and Baker Mayfield and this guy and this guy. And by the way, maybe even himself. He was a quarterback, like in college, and a good one in high school and college, even at a lower level. But Doug Peterson, remember, it was, he's worked around Favre, and he's been around Marino, and he's been obviously with Andy Reid and everything there. Like, how do you take bits and pieces and apply it to Trevor Lawrence? And I mean, I'm sure Doug did a lot of good things there, Austin, with that and applying some of that. But you also have to know when to do exactly what our previous 5 minutes was talked about. Let that guy be himself, right? He's not going to be Brett Favre, or he's not going to be Dan Marino. And I really think one of the frustrations of Doug and this offensive staff around Trevor was those guys had been around Brett Favre, go grab your face mask and get into you. Go Dan Marino on the sideline, what the heck are you doing? Go grab the face mask. Like, you have those visuals. That is not Trevor. And it's one of the things that I know they wanted to get across to him. They wanted him to do a little bit more. He knew they wanted him to do it more. He acknowledged it, but he just didn't think it was in his genuine nature to do that. And I think, I'm not telling you that was a big beef. I'm not trying to over-dramatize. I'm just telling you that's an example of where do you draw the line between saying, hey, you can take a little Baker Mayfield, a little bit of Matthew Stafford, a little bit of this guy, but also be yourself. I think that's a fascinating part of that. And can Liam Coen manage that?
I think that one of the ultimate golden rules, it's like the Rob Gronkowski rule, where we always hear about Bill Belichick. It wasn't a fun environment to necessarily play in if you're a Patriot. But at the same time, you won a lot of Super Bowls, so obviously he built up that resume. But you look at a guy like Rob Gronkowski, and you think of great, New England Patriots and what it meant and what that mold looked like. Rob Gronkowski did not fit in that mold whatsoever. You wouldn't think that Rob Gronkowski came through the Bill Belichick coaching style. But it goes to show you that I think Belichick realized if I would have had that classic Bill Belichick type of grit and old school demeanor with Rob Gronkowski, what would have happened? I think he would have lost his identity, and you probably wouldn't even got a Hall of Fame anymore. You probably just would have got a shell of a man who, put up mediocre numbers at the tight end position. And even though you ran a hard culture and a hard program at New England, you still let players be themselves a little bit. And Rob Gronkowski is one of those examples. So when Gronk got to be Gronk, like, yeah, I'm sure the practices still sucked and they were hard and all this stuff. But guess what? When it came time to shine the most, he was spiking the football. He was purveying his personality. And I think in doing that made Gronk who he is. So if you can see a coach, the old school of the old school, the saltiest of the salty, and Bill Belichick let his player be who he's supposed to be, then why can't every other coach in the NFL do that?
Yeah, they can if they're not stubborn enough and they just allow it to happen. You're right. So I just think a lot of good stuff. We continue to learn, right? What I would say, these are little planted seeds from Liam Coen, right? These are little drops of evidence of what this could be like, and then we'll see. We'll see. He's just going to be able to get around the guys for the first time on April 7th. That's next Monday. And there's a long way to go here to figure this whole thing out. But it's been a fun process to learn a little bit more about Liam Coen. We got a little bit more of a taste of that the last couple of days down there at the NFL owners meetings in Palm Beach. All right, I have promised for a couple of days a little bit the Shad Khan on 18 games and also D'Amico Ryans just talking about the division. I'm going to save them. I'm going to save them until tomorrow because I think there are longer conversations that I'd like to have. We still want to get to Daniel Griffiths' article on actionsportsjacks.com and Travis Hunter. So we'll do that when we come back. We also have a guest, Ward Clayton, stopping in. We're a week away from the Masters, and he's headed to Augusta. So we'll get a little bit of a preview there and have some fun with the concession stands, Austin, because not only the concession stands at Augusta very cheap, but you can't beat cheap at Coastal Carolina. Everybody wants to go to a game now at Coastal Carolina. We'll talk about that coming up next. Brent and Austin show on a Tuesday on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. Thanks for hanging out with us. And don't forget, by the way, it's Giving Day for the University of North Florida Ospreys. So check them out at unfospreys.com as they collect money for their student athletes. And they have 4,500 donors that they're trying to get to. You can be a small part of it or a big part of it. Go to unfospreys.com for more on UNF Giving Day.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. The most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade.
I'm Action Sports Jack Stuart Weber. Join me in the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation for Jacksonville Take Steps at Memorial Park on April 12th. This event is dedicated to finding cures and raising awareness for digestive diseases. Register now at actionnewsjacks.com.
The Jacksonville Sharks are your champions.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Save $1,000 or more when you bundle a Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Empower a future, inspire a dream. It's a bold but simple mission for the Jacksonville Police Athletic League known as Jax PAL. Help the next generation of kids in Jacksonville shape a brighter future. Their after-school programs, teenage leadership programs. There's community outreach.
It's been just an awesome opportunity to be out here with my colleagues and do something good for the community. It's really been an interesting opportunity to just see everybody work together in a way that we don't normally in the office.
And there's sports. There are also ways you can help the next generation with a donation of any kind. Just visit jaxpal.org to get more information. Empower a future, inspire a dream with Jax PAL.
Most of us know how to throw. But you need to know what to throw. I'm not talking about footballs, baseballs, softballs. We're talking about those items you need to recycle. Republic Services explains it easy. Recycling simplified. 1. Know what to throw. When in doubt, throw it out. 2. Empty, clean, and dry those materials. It takes an extra minute, but it makes a big difference. And 3. Don't bag it. This makes the recycling process faster and more efficient. This is a look at the Republic Services North Florida Recycling Center. You can make this process even more efficient. By utilizing those 3 steps, Republic Services can help you become a better recycler in your home. Learn more at recyclingsimplified.com.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
That one painter, First Coast, brings us Paint the Player, and what a player to paint if he's wearing teal. Travis Hunter, which position will he play? Liam Coen told us exclusively yesterday at the owners' meetings that he's going to play both sides of the football if he lands in Jacksonville, and then you can break it down from there. But what a talented and gifted player out of Colorado by way of Jackson State, former 5-star recruit that committed to Florida State, then flipped to follow Deion Sanders, and now a Heisman Trophy winner that, who knows, could he slip to number 5 and the Jacksonville Jaguars? It is fun food for thought, and that's part of the conversation on actionsportsjacks.com. You can read today's article with Daniel Griffiths as he writes about it, and we talk about it at onepainter.com/first-coast, and there's plenty to talk about when it comes to Travis Hunter, and I know we already have, but I just like looking at these numbers, Austin, from both sides. I mean, look at these rankings, and I'm going to give you a little something that Daniel Griffiths reminded me of today, and didn't even really know or forgot about. This guy's a 2-time academic All-American as well. He's the complete package when it comes to being a football player, and especially coming into the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I said all the time, it's one thing to be great at 2 positions that seem to be a little ego-driven. It's another thing to be great at those positions, but also be a great guy and a high-character guy off the field, right? And to be academically, dominant as well. So he is the complete package, man. And what it's going to come down to, we always talk about it, and I'm kind of at a risk of repeating myself so much, but it's how do you use them.
Yeah, and again, Coen, by the way, you can go see that interview on actionsportsjacks.com, and in the article today, Griffiths brings up some of those quotes about how they would potentially use him, and we love the transparency on the if possibility if Travis Hunter were to get to the Jags at number 5. I think one other thing that's pretty interesting about what you just said, the character, and I think the comfortable nature of being a star, I think there's something to that in sports. I said that about Trevor Lawrence when he got drafted. I think he's comfortable being the guy, like it's okay that everybody's looking at him. I think this guy will fall into that as well, Austin. And That's not always the case with everybody, right? That's a new thing for some. I'll even give you Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey was a heck of a football player in college, probably coming out of school to get to Florida State, but they had a ton of stars on that team. He wasn't necessarily like the star. He gets to Jacksonville, and within a year, he's like the star. So from a maturity standpoint, from dealing with some of that, how to feel about that, how to play with that, he did fine. I'm just saying I don't think he was as familiar with it as, say, a guy like Trevor was coming into the league, or even Travis Hunter, and I think there is something to be said for that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's fair, right? But I think with Jalen Ramsey, like, once again, maybe you didn't see it a lot at Florida State, but like, especially, I think those intangibles were there of like what he brought in terms of just having that dog in him, right? Kind of having that attitude about him. And once again, when you play those positions, like, this is why I'm so confident in Travis Hunter, where he's not like that, because Brent, he plays wide receiver and cornerback. Like, how can't you be a little cocky? How can't you get on Twitter and say a little something? And he doesn't really do that. Like, there's no thing with Ashton Genty that they went back and forth with, but that wasn't even really just him being cocky. That was more of just him trying to back up facts a little bit. So, yeah, I think, when we talk about it, Brent, at the end of the day, you have to give this guy a lot of credit because he's juggling a lot, especially with the NIL, especially with all the commercials that he's doing and everything, and it seems like he's got a great head on his shoulders.
I got a feeling we're big dreaming when it comes to Travis Hunter. I'm not sure he slips to the Jags at number 5. I think you can make a scenario, but you mentioned the Giants. The Giants, with adding the quarterbacks and Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson, does it now make that sense for them to go get a quarterback, a third one that they're going to invest in? I don't know. It doesn't seem likely. I think more likely to go get a weapon for whoever is playing quarterback, most likely Russell Wilson. We will see. That is Paint the Player. Daniel Griffiths writes about it on actionsportsjacks.com. We talk about it. Check out thatonepainter.com/first-coast. Let's welcome in a guest here on the show today, and an annual guest as we get set for Masters Week. We'll go up to Augusta for a couple of days next week. Austin will not, by the way, but he would like the price of the concessions up there. We'll definitely get to that. It's Ward Clayton, who last year when he came on the show was launching a new book, The Legendary Caddies of Augusta National. He's written one previously, 20 years prior, Men on the Bag. Hello, Ward Clayton. How are the book sales going?
Going great, Brent. Thanks for having me. I was sitting here talking to Austin about caddying, and I said you can draw a parallel that it's like your corner guy when you're fighting. He's giving you this expertise on the sideline. I'll even take it further. I see you're wearing your Daytona State Falcons T-shirt there today. Imagine if your daughter's pitching and she's got the coach right behind her standing there saying, hey, this person's susceptible to whatever pitch, give us some insight. Even go to Trevor Lawrence when he's got the mic in his helmet. That stops when you get to the line of scrimmage. Imagine if a coach is behind him sort of telling him, hey, that cornerback sort of he's prone to take a chance here. Why don't you look at that? So giving you some insight like caddies do is really valuable.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. And Austin, I guess in a way it is kind of more like the quarterback position because it shuts off like around 15 seconds. And we even wonder that, take the Philadelphia play last year that I really criticize a bunch when they're marching down the field down 28-23, and Trevor is susceptible to maybe force some things at times. Hey, it's first down. It's first down. If you don't have it, throw it away. Like, you could easily say that. Now, you also don't want to put negative thoughts in a mind, right? You want to be positive affirmation. But in that respect, a caddy probably steps away in about the same amount of time, or maybe even a little bit more, as the coach gets out of the headset of a quarterback. So I've never really even thought about it from a parallel standpoint, but I guess it does kind of resonate.
A great feat. I've never seen this. A great feature for you guys might be. It'd be interesting to put you in a helmet and hearing what the coach is telling Trevor. Is he telling him just the play, or is he giving him some insight? I don't know what that conversation. It's not really a conversation. It's one way, but it'd be interesting to hear what is said there.
Yeah, well, by the way, Austin, I had a story planned. In fact, I actually already started doing interviews last year, kind of like that. I was going to dissect almost like the anatomy of a play call from the time that it's put into play until the time the ball is snapped in the different roles. And I got Trevor on it, actually, got some other folks, and then I didn't know who the hell was calling plays, Austin, so then I stopped.
No wonder Brent was trying to push the narrative so much of who was calling plays. It wasn't because, the future of the Jacksonville Jaguars was more about his own, selfish motives here. Ward, I want to ask you, like when we talk about caddies, right, and they're so important, just like you mentioned with fighting, you got to have your corner. You're only as good as your cornerman will allow you to be. What are some of the characteristics that make up a great caddy?
I think first and foremost is they can read your personality. I mean, right away. They see Austen. All of a sudden, Austin's pretty cocky over there in the corner. He's gonna break you down. He's gonna make you so you're a little more humble.
Sure.
And at the same time, if you're really nervous, he might tell you a few jokes to make you loose. So I think just reading people is really the essential element. Guys can read putts or give you yardage, things of that nature. But if you got a great rapport with a player, I think that's really essential.
Well, let me ask you this, because I feel like you see this all the time in fighting, and I'm sure golf is similar. I can't believe we're comparing fighting to golf so much, but here we are, only on the Brent Austen Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. When a fighter loses, and I don't try to fall in this category, but you see it all the time, they will make up excuses, right? Like, I didn't have a good camp. I had a bad hand or something like that. And I've never believed in that because then you can't really learn from your mistakes. I feel like golf sometimes they can kind of do that same thing where it's like it's somebody else's fault. So then if you're a caddy, like, do you play along with that narrative? Or is it more of like, hey, you got to be held accountable. You got to be held responsible. Like, is it the caddy's job, I guess, here, Ward? Do they take the brunt of it? Is it their fault? Or are they not afraid to speak their mind and say, like, hey, well, you have to do this better. You have to do that better?
I think there's a balance. If Austin's doing some things that are stupid on the golf course, the caddy needs to speak up and give his insight, because if he doesn't, he's not doing his job. If you're making a poor decision during the course of the round of golf, say, no, you haven't done well with this during the course of the day. Let's try this other tactic here or whatever like that. But I think ultimately you go along with him because you're trying to save your job. And there's many instances where a caddy's come late in the round and he's going to tell the player, let's lay up, let's don't hit it in the water here, because, you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to make more money the higher up we finish in the tournament.
Sure.
So you got to strike a balance there. You don't want to be to the point where you're overseeing what the player's doing and making him feel like he's not making his decisions on his own.
Gotcha.
Well, by the way, there was a great interaction this week. Min-Woo Lee ended up winning the golf tournament, but the caddy maybe saved him. I think he won by one shot, and it was a par 5. He was underneath a tree, and he talked him out of hitting that, just knockout shot from underneath the tree from his knees. I don't know if he was going to do it, but it looked like he really wanted to do it. And the caddy talks him out of it. He ends up making par on that hole, saves par, and ends up, I believe, winning that tournament by a shot. So fascinating. A couple of things to get to before we get to Augusta, and I know you're on your way there, I think even this afternoon, Ward. You wrote a story recently down about St. John's Golf Club, the county course there on 207 that has an old master scoreboard, I think, from the World Golf Hall of Fame inside. Tell us a little bit more about that. That was kind of cool.
End of 2023, when the Hall of Fame closed in St. Augustine and moved to Pinehurst, the Hall of Fame in Pinehurst is much smaller. They didn't have room for everything. And so one of the things that's there is this humongous scoreboard, which is a replica of Augusta National. And so Wes Tucker, who's been at St. John's Golf Club for a long time, saw that and said, hey, I want that. So he's put it in his cart barn. You got to go sort of behind the scenes to see it. Eventually, he'd like to get to the point where, for like the St. Augustine Amateur or something of that nature, he can put that out there and use it as a leaderboard. That thing's really big and heavy, so it hasn't gotten to that point yet. But it's really cool behind the scenes. You walk into the cart barn and you go around the corner, and there's Hogan, Nicholas, Palmer, players' names on the board. And it's really neat to see that being sort of hidden behind the scenes there. Pretty neat.
Well, if they have anything else, they could drop it off in the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network studios, as you can see, Ward. I mean, we got some room for some things.
You do. You might have to have a heavy truck to bring it over here. It's a pretty big thing. So.
Well, I think, Ward, actually, you did bring something in here, though, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Oh, yeah.
I saw something in here that he brought in.
I brought this in before, but
okay.
But Brent, here's the caddy suit. Let me get it on camera here. Here we go.
I've tried it on.
Yeah, he tried it
Yeah.
on. There's Jack Nicholson. The cool thing about these suits, which I'll wear next week, is you can tear these off.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So the player's name comes off the back as Velcroed, like so.
Cool.
Yep. But the front,
And you put
it's got
Martineau
the
on
number
there.
of the player. Exactly. The front's got the number on it. So the defending champion always gets number 1.
Okay. Gotcha.
Then everybody else is based upon when they register for the tournament.
Okay.
And on this side would be the Augusta National logo, but I don't have that. So pretty cool. This is Austin. This is like Carl Jackson, who's been caddying there forever, says this is the tuxedo of caddy uniforms.
I believe it, man. Like that's the one to get right there, isn't it?
So
that's amazing.
What's cool at Augusta is, everybody knows the green jacket.
Of
You win the
course.
tournament, you win the green jacket. If a caddy wins the tournament, he can write the club and say, hey, I want my suit, and they'll clean it up and mail it to him.
Dang.
And he doesn't have to return that. He gets to keep it. So
Yeah.
it's his forever. So it's pretty cool. So like Ted Scott's, who caddies for Scotty Scheffler's probably got 4 of these.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool.
Well, let me ask you this: like,
That's awesome.
in terms of obviously being a caddy, you have to master, like, you have to know the course in and out.
Yep.
So, like, for instance, we just had the players here a couple weeks ago. Would that caddy then of that golfer, would he come out and actually play the course a couple times to try to get a feel for it? Does he just have a frame of reference of when he's played on it like long ago? Like how much work goes into researching a course and maybe even playing on the course?
A tremendous amount. They walk the golf course, and they have, you've probably seen this on TV, they have yardage books, which are little maps of each hole, and they'll do their own notes on it. So that's essential to go around, because if Austin's 150 yards away, these guys are so particular. They don't want to know 150 yards. They want to know it's 152 yards over the sand trap. It's 165 yards to the back of the green. They want to know precise numbers. It's not just generalities.
Wow.
Or they need to know the wind's blowing 5 miles an hour in my face. What's that going to do to my shot? So, I think a lot of these guys have to have a degree in math too, because they got to do a little subtracting and adding and so forth like that. So it's really pretty particular about what you need.
I mean, math, psychology,
Yeah.
you have to do it all, Brent.
Yep.
That's what you just said. It. Math, psychology, probably a little physics maybe in there too. Yeah.
Basically, you got to be a mother figure to these guys.
Yeah.
You really have to understand who they are and what information to give to them and everything like that. So it's a pretty cool profession. I know. Think about this, Austin and Brent. If you win the tournament and the purse, I think the player's purse. What was first place, Brent? $3.4 million or something like that.
$4.5 million. 4.5. Yeah.
$4.5 million. Think about this. The guy who won that generally gets 10%. Okay,
Man,
that's
yeah.
that's a pretty good week.
It's not a bad week. Yeah, not a bad week at all.
Pretty good week.
Yeah,
pretty good week.
That's pretty good week. Ward Clayton with us, headed to Augusta. Hey, give us, what are you writing about? Masters.com. You can find some awards work over the next couple of weeks. What do you, without giving too much away, do you have something in the works that you want to tease people with before the 2025 Masters?
I don't think a lot of people realize, Western North Carolina got a lot of attention for the Hurricane Helene that hit it and flooded people and killed people. That storm went through Augusta before it went to the North Carolina mountains. And Augusta, 6 months ago, lost a lot of trees, not just Augusta National, but the whole periphery. So neighborhoods had trees and debris stacked up on the sides of the road. So it's been a real community effort there to try to get back on the ground and get ready for this spring. So I think there was enough debris there. I think I saw this total that you could have filled 2.5 Empire State Buildings with all the tree debris.
Jeez.
So Augusta has a lot of trees, a lot of flowers, so forth like that. So you'll probably be able to see some places if you were on the ground in Augusta that you hadn't seen before. If you see Amen Corner, normally you see the big trees behind it and all the beautiful flowers. There's probably going to be a new vista where you can see into the neighboring Augusta Country Club more readily this year. I would think that's a huge
what
story.
I almost said. Yeah, I almost said they have a lot of money too. So could they just replant those trees, but probably not in time to look the way they looked, right?
To a degree, I'm sure they planted a lot of trees. They have the capability to do that. but still you're going to have some vistas you haven't seen before. Not, as I say, you go into neighborhoods around Augusta, you can see, to streets and so forth like that you haven't seen before.
Well, also from a golf perspective, we get some of the. Oh, go ahead.
I was saying that's a unique perspective because you got to be there to sort of see that. So on the broadcast, you may not see as much because that's generally just Augusta National specific.
Yeah, that's true too. But there's a lot like that at Augusta that you almost have to be on the property to see all the nuanced things even before this. So from a golf perspective, we get to see the live guys competing. Of course, I think people will be excited about a DeChambeau being back in the mix. I'm not sure they're excited about anybody else, quite frankly. But if you really like golf, maybe a Rahm or a Koepka. But there is that mix that we don't see anymore, other than these big events.
I agree. I think a lot of people are still confused about how that works, Brent. Even people in the golf industry don't know when that's going to come to an end, when they're going to come together and play together. For example, John Rahm's is a perfect example of somebody who was number one in the world 2 years ago, and he goes and plays live, and he's way down there, and you don't know how he's playing. There's no sense of anticipation about how he's going to perform, and I don't know what his own expectations are. That's got me curious.
All right, we got to get out of here, but Coastal Carolina free concessions, Augusta like $2 sandwiches. I mean, it's about the same, right, guys? Austin, I mean, free concessions at Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, Coastal Carolina, as a way to say thank you to your fans, you get 4 free items now at the Coastal Carolina football games, and by my understanding, you can actually go up there and get 4 more items again. So I don't know how that's going to work in terms of the budget and everything. I guess NIL, they got a couple boosters helping them out, but pretty cool thing at Coastal Carolina.
All right, Austin, pimento cheese sandwich or egg salad? Which one?
Pimento cheese sandwich all day, man. Pimento cheese. I mean, I'm from Wisconsin, so it's all about the cheese. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
But I'm going to be honest, you can't go wrong with either of them.
Okay.
Let me ask you this real quick before we go. What's the most slept on item on that menu at Augusta? Like, what's something that nobody ever talks about that's actually pretty legit?
Probably a Georgia peach ice cream sandwich.
Georgia peach ice cream sandwich.
Like a little sandwich that'll make you take a nap.
Brent, go ahead and give me back 2 of those, please, when you come back to the studio, man. I appreciate you.
I'll put them in the pockets. Ward Clayton, Masters.com. We'll see all your work. We'll see you up in Augusta as well. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Thank you. You guys have a good day.
You too, man.
All right, everybody else have a good day, too. That's going to do it for the Brent and Austin Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. Back at it tomorrow, 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. Look at the rest of the lineup on the network on actionsportsjacks.com. It's one of the hot spots in the area.
Welcome you to String Sports Brewery out at the beach. Big crowd on hand tonight. The fans are here.
And now, the newest hot spot at the beach is open. String Sports Brewery in Jacks Beach has opened its doors with rave reviews.
We're going to be fans forever.
Cozy up to the bar, grab a seat in the sports-themed restaurant, or grab a seat outside and feel that breeze coming off the beach as the weather warms. Just like the original location in Springfield, try the popular beer menu and come for lunch or dinner too, because the food is fantastic.
We got a special guest in the house. He's happy. He's feeling good. He's Trayvon Walker.
It's where we hosted Jags Report Live in the football season, and the String Sports Brewery staff can't wait to host you. Hey, welcome back here to String Sports Brewery. And if you haven't checked out the new location in Jacks Beach, you got to do it. String Sports Brewery, now with 2 locations in Springfield and now open in Jacks Beach on Penman Road.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers. And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242.
You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing.
Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, you can take 10% off any water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
For the game day hustle and every day in between, juggling my show Jag Social to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.